Wake up, pray up. Hey, this is the morning buzz. We've got so much to get to today. It's 6:06 a.m. I'm very excited for the 8 o'clock hour. Mike Coolidge joining me in studio to co-host the 8 o'clock hour. He's the former Illinois congressman candidate. He also is a spokesperson for the People Who Play by the Rules PAC. He is a lifelong conservative activist. Today's Tuesday. Typically, we do Patriot Power Plug on Tuesdays at 7 a.m. But today we're pushing it up to 8 o'clock because he's coming in studio. He's coming in studio in person. So he's going to be in studio with me. As always, I'm in studio and you can see me live on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter. We're everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to me at Cat Peterson 929 on YouTube. That would greatly help me out, guys. So now, there is something locally here that I want to make you aware of. And if you have any information, we're going to try to get some information from the authorities about this. But this is breaking news. We're hearing reports about possibly a Rivian employee. We're hearing this news from Rivian employees. I'm not too familiar with the geographic area there and where exactly this is at, but it's right there by the Ashley Furniture Store off College. And apparently it had happened about 10:30 p.m. last night. That's what we're being told. Possibly one deceased, a shooting. So I'm not exactly sure anything more than that. We're just getting a lot of reports from different Rivian employees that say that the shooting happened and possibly one person was shot. There is a video out there that somebody was showing or was telling me about, and it was like a white car um, pulled over just right down the road. The cops with a white car. So the cops were there. So possibly a shooting. We're going to keep you updated on that local story here. Also, another story. It's Rivian related. I just found it interesting that this came out yesterday. And now we've got the shooting today, pretty close to Rivian there, I think. It's coming from Rivian employees, this possible shooting. But there was a woman who filed a lawsuit against Rivian. Now, I think that this happened sometime last week, Thursday, Friday. There's some court filings. We're got the exclusive scoop on this. Another woman filed a lawsuit against Rivian. We're told that this lawsuit is another sexual harassment lawsuit against Rivian. They're listed as defendant. Now, I'm not too sure. I mean, we're told that it is a sexual harassment suit. It is filed. The nature of the suit is civil rights employment, which could be sexual in nature. It just doesn't list it as that, according to this court documents. I've got the case number right here in front of me, listed as defendants, Rivian. So this is an interesting story because in 2022, Rivian had also dealt with a different sexual assault case or a sexual harassment case, lawsuit. And she was from Bloomington. She filed it and she said that she was sexually harassed and then also faced a hostile work environment. Her name was Angela. She filed that complaint in federal court. Um, Now, fast forward to 2023, same story, right? We've got Christy Consenza. She filed this civil rights employment suit. Now, I don't know. Maybe it'll come out that it's not a sexual harassment suit, but we are being told by a good source that this is a sexual harassment suit. So that'll be interesting. We're going to try to keep you updated here on those two stories. A possible shooting near Ashley Furniture Store, right near College there, off College, near the Ashley Furniture Store. And then I also want to keep you updated on this possible sexual harassment suit. It is a civil rights employment suit. So that was filed per court documents. But we're going to keep you updated on all things local here at Cities 92.9. I am very excited to tell you about Governor J.B. Pritzker being on CNN this morning. He was there on Friday, and I just didn't get to it yesterday. But Governor J.B. Pritzker, he's defending this law. I've talked about the law. I've had members from the Pregnancy Resource Center here in Bloomington. Ellen, she's fantastic. Living Alternatives. Go to their website, folks, and support them. They're big fans of ours. I love them. They're very, very good to women. I've visited these pregnancy resource centers. I've toured them. This is not a place of deception. This is a place that wants to help women. My very own cousin, right? She has had some issues uh, in her life where she is kind of having to go to Living Alternatives Pregnancy Resource Center for things like diapers, things like clothing. And she actually goes to the one out of Coal City, and there is an affiliation with the one here in Bloomington. So they're both of the same kind of company, Living Alternatives. So Governor J.B. Pritzker, he's defending this law that penalizes these pregnancy resource centers and um, basically they can penalize these resource centers if they think that they're being deceptive. So a federal judge has ruled that, quote, this is painfully and blatantly a violation of the First Amendment, stating that the law is just um, like the case against President Trump. So I've got a clip from Governor J.B. Pritzker on CNN. You won't believe it. This guy is quoted saying that you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie. He's wrong there, folks. You got the right to lie. Governor J.B. Pritzker clearly has the right to lie. So I will be getting into all of that here. A couple of local things right out the gate. But first, I do want to talk about this woman melting down. Um, Another incident in San Francisco in the streets. She's told that she better move out of the way or she will be raped. Yes, that's coming up. Corporate media smears Sound of Freedom again after one of its 6,678 crowdfunders. Okay, so I'm a crowdfunder. I donated to the Angel Studios so that way somebody could try to get a ticket to go see this movie because we're trying to raise awareness. We don't want anybody to not be able to see this movie because of finances. And it's crowdfunding for the movie. And the corporate media is out there smearing the movie again because one of like the near 7,000 crowdfunders has been arrested in this custody dispute. So they're trying to say that, he was a kidnapper and blah 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 and he's a funder of the Sound of Freedom movie. No, 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 no. All fake news. It was leftist propaganda. I'm going to unpack that here. Plus, did you hear this? This is kind of funny. The Washington Redskins, remember when they changed their name to the Washington Commanders? Well, the Native American Guardians Association has a petition to try to restore the Washington Redskins name, and this petition has been going viral. You can't cancel American history. Change.org petition to support the changing of this Washington football team name back to the Redskin. It's gone viral. They are the Washington Commanders as of right now, but who knows, that might change. And who is the fiercest pusher of trying to get this name changed back to the Redskins? It's this group of Native Americans. So I've got all of this and more ahead on the Morning Buzz. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, Cat Peterson 929 on YouTube. We've got so much to get to. Let's get into the San Francisco story. Stop me if you've heard this one before, okay? I know you have. I know you have heard this one before, especially on this program. Another person who lives in San Francisco is going viral, describing how she doesn't feel safe in San Francisco after falling victim to an attack. And wait for it, it's in San Francisco. Okay, so yes, stop me when you've heard that somebody has fell victim to the senseless violence that has been going on in San Francisco. Um, this happened in clear view, broad daylight. Everyone could see this. She says that she walked in to the store and she was walking and buying groceries and that somebody spit on her. And this criminal told the woman, "Move or I'll rape you." Yes. She said that everybody walked by. Nobody stopped, engaged the attacker. But she said that the reason why everybody walked by is because the people in San Francisco have this mentality of, "I just can't handle anything else." I live in San Francisco. This is a lot for me. I just can't handle something else. And one thing I do want to say, if you see something like this, I mean, I don't know, that's me. I would engage this person. I just wouldn't be able to walk by. If you say that in real America, not this crazy America that we're living in, if you told a woman, move or I'll rape you, your face is gonna meet an electric pole, the hood of someone's car, a chain link fence. I'm sorry, but in real America and not this crazy one that we're in, that would have happened. But people just walked by because they say that they can't handle anything else right now. So I do want to play this for us. She's going viral. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, you can definitely see uh, her reaction. I think that it's very real for this woman. So let's take.
I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I just got groceries. I'm walking out of the store, and this guy is walking past me and says, "Move, you stupid bitch." And he spits in my face, spits all over my face. And then I say, "Excuse me, did you just spit in my face?" And he says, "Move or I'll rape you." There's also people everywhere, and everyone's just walking by because they're like, "I can't handle something else in San Francisco." It's always something else. I don't even know why I'm posting this. If you live in San Francisco, do you feel this way all the time? I don't feel safe, ever. I literally never feel safe. It's better when it's daylight. But nighttime, no, not leaving my house. I'm literally shaking right now. I was just getting
So
groceries and I
there
live
you
in
have
San
it.
Francisco and I never.
I feel for this woman. I really do. Now, could this woman be making it up? It's possible. I checked out her TikTok page, and there's like no sign of her being this big drama influencer. So I do think that her story is checking out. Plus, when she asked if she was the only one who didn't feel safe in the city anymore, there was an entire comment section that just blew up, and it turns out that she's not alone. So she's not this big TikTok influencer. She's not doing this for clicks. I think that she is truly a victim to a crime here, where somebody spit in her face and said that she better move out of the way or that she was going to be raped. So here's some of the comments. I live in Santa Monica and I feel like a prisoner in my own home once the sun sets. This is the second video I've seen in the last day about this. It's so wild. I hate when I have to commute there to San Francisco. I don't live in San Francisco, but I have visited. I do not feel safe there. It's sad and it's very common in cities. And I'm just going to say it, Chicago, right? That have been ruled by progressive elected officials for decades. This is what happens. Urban areas with high crime, also coupled with the virtue signaling white liberals who want to defund the police in the name of tolerance and equity. Police budgets, they were gutted in 2020. They're continuing to be gutted. You can't even hold a criminal behind bars anymore with bail. I mean, there is no cash bail in the state of Illinois anymore. That's going to be really ramping up here in the next couple of months. And, we've got officers and prosecutors who have run towards early retirement because they had their families to think about, and they became targets of these desperate Democrat politicians, and these laws have been watered down. Shoplifting is kind of legal. Penalties for committing crimes. I mean, it's almost laughable. You get a slap on the wrist anymore. And we wonder why people created the song Try That in a Small Town. This is the reason why. Um, it doesn't have to be like this, though, in American cities. It doesn't have to be like this in Chicago and San Francisco. Um, People who live there, they wanna do something about it. What they need to do, they have the option to vote for somebody else and realize that they've been voting for the policies that have caused San Francisco to turn into such a crap hole. The people who vote for this stuff in Chicago, they need to wake up and realize that it's the policies, and it turns out, and I'm really sad to bring you this morning, this poor woman who went through this, it's her fault. And she's contributed to this problem because likely she voted for this. According to one of her posts back in 2020, she says, Remember all that energy, outrage, and love we brought when the video of George Floyd went viral? Or when the Kentucky grand jury indicted only one of the three officers involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor? I am going to be channeling that energy when I fill out my ballot this year. BLM is not a trend. And I hope all my white friends and family members remember this when they fill out their ballots this year. Vote as if you are the most marginalized, oppressed person you know, and vote for their best interest, not for yours. Yeah. So, I mean, let's take a guess of how she voted. Uh, uh, yeah, no, likely she voted for these very policies that have created a situation where she goes into the grocery store, gets her face spit on, and told that she's going to be raped if she doesn't move out of the way. It's your fault, lady. It's essentially like you're contributing to the problem, right? It's not directly your fault; it's indirectly your fault. Okay. I do want to take a break as always live in studio. You can text in at 309-451-9299. Uh, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Cat Peterson 929. I'll be back and I'll be on the live stream with a few other stories exclusive to the stream. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. I so do appreciate it. If you're watching right now, go ahead and smash that like button. You can also text me at 309-451-9299. Coming up, corporate media, they're smearing this movie Sound of Freedom after one of its like near 7,000 crowdfunders. I'm a crowdfunder. I donated to the GoFundMe, right? Essentially, it was created by Angel Productions, Angel Studio Productions, where if you wanted to purchase a ticket for somebody, you could um, donate money. So that way somebody would be able to see the film if they didn't have enough money. So it's called crowdfunding, okay? And the corporate media, they're smearing Sound of Freedom after one of these 7,000 different crowdfunders was arrested in some sort of custody dispute. And they're trying to say that this guy was, a kidnapper and he was the, funder or a financer of the Sound of Freedom film. This is fake news. This is leftist propaganda. And I'm going to unpack it here on the Morning Buzz. But first, did you see this? The U.S. Is deployed a fleet of destroyers to Alaska to monitor this unprecedented Russian and Chinese naval patrol. This is concerning, and World War III, World War III, World War III. The flashing lights are going off into my head, are going off in my head. So back in early August, 11 Russian and Chinese ships were spotted near Alaska, near some islands, prompting the United States to deploy a fleet of destroyers to monitor the situation. While the enemy ships have since retreated, the unprecedented nature of the move has left the nation's defense agencies on high alert. Um, the Wall Street Journal, they're reporting that the Russian and Chinese ships never entered American territory and they remained in international waters. for the duration of their voyage. Nonetheless, they were monitored by 4 U.S. destroyers, as well as some sort of aircraft. It's a P-8 Poseidon aircraft. So, Alaskan Senator Dan Sullivan called the exercise unprecedented, not just for his state, but for the country as a whole, expressing fear over the fact that the Chinese and the Russians are increasingly working together. This was a power move, and it should concern us because this is a pretty clear indication that World War III, I mean, we do not want to get into some sort of battle between the United States and Russia and China joined at the hip. That would be terrible for us. So we'll have to see what happens next. But as of right now, I think that everything has kind of settled, relaxed. According to the annual cooperation plan between the Chinese and Russian militaries, naval vessels of the two countries have recently conducted joint maritime patrols in relevant waters in the Western and Northern Pacific Ocean. Um, this action is not targeted at any third party, and it's nothing to do with the current international or regional situation. So they're saying that it's not the Chinese embassy or the Chinese embassy attempted to downplay the seriousness of the situation and suggested that it was not meant to come off as some sort of provocation. Now, I do think that it was. They say, "Oh no, it's not," but it is. um, Obviously, we thought it was. We thought it was big enough for us to call in some destroyers. Be sure if you're watching to like, love, share this out with your normie friends. We're going to be back in just a second. Wow. Oh, wow. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can always text in 309-451-9299. I do have a couple of local stories that we've been covering here in the last couple of days, and I want to make sure that I update you. So we're hearing reports from Rivian employees. Now, I don't know if it was a Rivian employee who was shot. We're just getting our information from several Rivian employees about a possible shooting. We're hearing one deceased. We're waiting for the police and for the authorities to give us more, but we're being told that this shooting happened off of College near Ashley Furniture at approximately 10:30 p.m. last night. We're getting more from the authorities. Like I said, that story is going to be updated, but possibly one deceased in a shooting that happened last night. So that's breaking news. Plus, another woman is filing a lawsuit against Rivian. Now, we're told that this is a sexual harassment case. Now, the court documents show that this is a civil rights employment case. So they're listed as defendants Rivian. The plaintiff is Christy Consenza. And what's interesting about this is that this is not the first of its kind, if this is in fact a sexual harassment lawsuit. In 2022, there was a former Rivian employee from Bloomington who filed a lawsuit saying that the company was or she was being sexually harassed and that she faced a hostile work environment. So that's one thing that I found interesting about this, that this is, a continued problem. Um, I'm not too sure if Rivian is going to respond to this case. I know at the time in 2022 they responded and they said that they had like a zero tolerance for sexual harassment in the workplace, and we'll have to see. So, a couple of breaking stories there. Now, one thing that I was reading was about the U.S. deploying this fleet, and this kind of went under the radar, and I don't know how it did, but this is probably the biggest story of the last couple of weeks here. The US, we deployed a fleet of destroyers to Alaska to monitor this unprecedented Russian Chinese naval patrol. So, the senator, his name is Dan Sullivan. He said that this was unprecedented, not just for the state of Alaska, but it was also unprecedented for the whole country, the country as a whole. And he expressed that he has a fear that the Chinese and the Russians are increasingly working together. So, there was also a fellow senator. Her name's Lisa. She echoed her colleagues' sentiments, and added that the event should serve as a stark reminder of Alaska's proximity to both China and Russia, and as well as the essential role of our state plays in our national defense and our territorial sovereignty. So we can't forget that Alaska is very close to China, Russia, very close to that eastern side of the world. Now, the Wall Street Journal, they were reporting that the Russian and Chinese ships never entered American territory. They stayed within the international waters for the duration of the voyage. Nonetheless, here in the United States, we were like, we need to send out some destroyers. We also need to send out this Poseidon aircraft to monitor it, because it was unprecedented. And, they've since come out, the Chinese embassy has downplayed the seriousness of the situation. They said that it was not meant to come off as some sort of provocation. They weren't trying to provoke. Um, but I'm just going to say World War III. And we definitely don't want to be in some sort of direct conflict with Russia. We don't want to be in some sort of direct conflict with the Chinese. We certainly don't want to be in some sort of direct conflict with the Russian and the Chinese, with Russia and China, joint at the hip. This is a big deal, and nobody's talking about it. Uh, World War III is very, very real. Now, corporate media, they're smearing Sound of Freedom again. One of its 7,000, near 7,000 crowdfunders. I'm a crowdfunder. I went and I saw the movie and I donated to Angel Studio Productions. So that way, somebody who doesn't have enough money to go see the film could go see the film if I donated a couple of tickets through this crowdfunding website. Okay. So now what the corporate media people are doing and this leftist propaganda that's out there, they're trying to say that one of the financiers of the Sound of Freedom film is in a uh, in a kidnapping case, and he kidnapped a girl, which just is not true. It's just so fake, and it's just so inflamed, inflammatory. It's hyperbole. It's not real. It's leftist propaganda. So I'm going to unpack that here coming up in just a little bit. Uh, this is the Morning Buzz, 309-451-9299. We'll be back. Okay, good morning, folks. I do want to make sure I clarify something. People are saying that it's not near College Avenue, it's West College Avenue in Normal. There's this Ashley Furniture Home Store warehouse. That's where I'm thinking the shooting took place. We're going to hear more, hopefully, from the Normal PD. This did happen in Normal. We've been told by several Rivian employees that a shooting took place and that possibly one person has died in that shooting. So we are waiting for a statement from the police, possibly a press release or something to suggest that, hey, this was a Rivian employee or something. It's just we're getting a lot of reports of this shooting that took place. And it's the Ashley Furniture Home Store. It's a warehouse and it's in Normal. Now, when it comes to how close that is to Rivian, I'm going to find this out here. But that's the breaking news this morning is that there was a possible shooting there and one person has possibly died in that shooting, and it happened approximately 10:30 p.m. last night. Just so sad. Sad story. I am going to be getting into another story here, The Sound of Freedom, being attacked. I don't know why these people hate the movie so much. If you could throw into the comments section why these people hate the movie so much. Um, maybe and kind of try to shed some light because I'm not understanding why people hate the movie so much. When leftist liberal Democrats become victims of their own ideology, you have to wonder, do they ever get it? We have a few who troll cities. Some speak like they have some sense, but the majority aren't very bright. Yeah, so Jacqueline, you're exactly right. I brought you the story out of San Francisco. This woman, clearly a leftist, she had some left leaning posts about the George Floyd riots and about the Black Lives Matter movement. If I was a betting woman, I would say that she voted for Democrats in the 2020 election. And she's probably wondering, why she's being spit on when she's just grocery shopping or why somebody says, move or I'll rape you. Now, in real America, if somebody spit in your face and said, move or I'll rape you, and that happened to a woman, bystanders would likely go take that guy, slam him on the hood of a car, or slam him up against a chain link fence. That's the America I would want and the real America. But we live in clown world where people get away with that sort of thing. But the reason why that's happening is because they are voting for this and they don't understand. It just doesn't click with them that these policies are the reason why they go through hell in cities like San Francisco or Chicago, because they've been so brainwashed. And of course, nobody wants to be told that they're wrong. Um, that's just human nature, right? They don't want to be told that they're wrong or that they're the reason that that happened to them. Um, and I'm not even going to go as far as to say that it's a direct reason. Of course not. Violence, evil, that's the direct reason why that happened. Anybody who spits in someone's face is evil. That's just a terrible act. But um, indirectly, she's voting for these policies that directly lead to things like crazy, crazy violence. Good morning. Hey, this is the morning buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. Now, from what I'm understanding here, folks, about this story um, out by the Ashley Furniture, I mean, it's 3 minutes away from Rivian. So this is the Ashley Furniture, Homes warehouse. It's not the Ashley Furniture store, sorry, I misspoke, I just called it the store. This is breaking news this morning. I haven't seen a press release about it yet. I'm assuming that that's going to come from the Normal Police Department. But we've got some details about a possible shooting that happened in that area. It's breaking news. We're hearing reports from Rivian employees about that shooting, possibly one deceased. We're being told that it was off West College Avenue near the Ashley Furniture home warehouse. It's not exactly the store, I guess. I don't know. I've never really been out that way, but when you look it up, right, the address of this Ashley Furniture home store is West College Avenue in Normal. Somebody had said that there is no West Ashley Furniture store out there. It's a like a warehouse, I think, where they store it. I don't know, but it's right there by Rivian. We're told that a possible shooting happened there last night at approximately 10:30 p.m. We are going to be getting more details about that. Coming up, I do want to talk about Governor J.B. Pritzker. He was on CNN, of course. It was their Friday broadcast of CNN this morning. Kind of got lost in the shuffle here because I really don't watch CNN. But Governor J.B. Pritzker, he's defending this terrible law. It's a law, it's SB 1909. We have sent out email blasts, and if you guys aren't a part of the Insiders Club, you can do so. You can be a part of that Insiders Club at cities929.com. What we do is send out email blasts. It's definitely an activist type. Hey, act against this. Here's something that if you want to sign a witness slip against, this is the bill. So we make it really easy for you to stay on top of these unconstitutional laws that Governor J.B. Pritzker just drafts up on a daily basis. So this is one of those other ones where he's trying to penalize pregnancy resource centers over some deception. Like he's saying that if they deem these pregnancy resource centers as deceptive, then they can shut them down. They can even penalize them financially with $50,000 fines. The attorney general has the power to do that. Now, the attorney general, Kwame Raoul, was behind this state law. So I do want to play Governor J.B. Pritzker's clip here from CNN because this makes me want to move out of Illinois, and I'm sure it's going to make you want to move out of Illinois. This is completely wild that he said this. I'm just going to share it with you. You can see it live. I'm in studio, The Morning Buzz, YouTube. Type in Cat Peterson 929 to see Governor J.B. Pritzker on the screen, so you can see all of the clips I play. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Joined this morning by the Democratic governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. And Governor, good morning to you. You actually just signed a law on Monday that expands access across your state. What does it change?
Well, a couple of things. First, we've created hotlines for both providers and for patients. If you're a patient coming from another state, you may not know where you can go. You may not know where you can stay overnight. You may not know what to do with your children while you're having a procedure done or seeking health care from a doctor in Illinois. So we've got hotlines that are available for people to find out. And also for those who can't afford an abortion, whether it's a medication abortion or a procedure, we even have nonprofit organizations that will support your effort to seek out your reproductive rights. And unfortunately, we're seeing thousands pour across the border from just our neighboring states and tens of thousands from across the country.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood released data from one of their clinics in your state. They saw a 35% increase in total abortion patients, 40% of those coming from out of states. Do you believe that what you have set up in terms of infrastructure for that can handle the influx without delays to others?
Not yet. I mean, the answer is we've got to increase capacity. We're doing everything that we can, though. Frankly, we've got to build out facilities. We've got to make sure that we're giving people the proper procedures to follow. And of course, we want people to know that their rights are protected in the state of Illinois, whether they're here in Illinois or coming from another state.
I also thought it was interesting that last week you signed a different bill. And I read through it. And what it does is it penalizes anti-abortion centers for using what you deem deceptive practices or misinformation. You're basing this legally on a consumer fraud act that you have in the state of Illinois. You were sued immediately by a law firm in your state that calls it a blatant attempt to chill and silence pro-life speech, essentially. And yesterday, a federal judge upheld that, put an injunction in and said, let this play out in the courts. Are you confident that this bill is going to survive the courts?
Here we go.
I'm confident this is constitutional. It's legal. Remember what they're doing. They're putting their crisis pregnancy centers next door to abortion rights centers, and they're directing people to go in their front door or telling them things that aren't true often. And when that's the case, they ought to be held liable. There ought to be a private right of action for anybody that's dissuaded or told, something that's false. That's the important thing. What they say to people, that's fine, as long as what they're doing isn't deceptive, and we have laws against that. It's fraud in our state, and we're going to prosecute people for that.
Just one beat on that before we move on. It's largely their claim to have this right is largely based on RFRA, right, on religious freedom, and making their argument from a religious perspective. How do you counter that free speech argument? I mean, you're basing yours on a Consumer Fraud Act. I understand that. But as you face this First Amendment question.
Well, it's just like the case against President Trump.
You
have a right to free speech, but you don't have a right to lie.
There you have it, folks. You have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie. That's super concerning. Because you can't go around telling people that they don't have the right to lie. You do have the right to lie, okay? We live in a free country, and if Governor J.B. Pritzker was held to his own standards, he would be locked up, because I've caught him in several lies. He lies all the time. All of the time. He's a politician, folks. So, I mean, when you get into this dance of, you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie. Who's got the truth? Is it you, JB? Are you the one who decides what's true and what's not true, and you're the purveyor of all truths? I'll tell you right now, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And he's the truth. We're not going to be living by your truth, Governor J.B. Pritzker. Whatever you say is true. So yes, this state law, it's very concerning. Rarely does a federal judge mock a state law or an attorney general as harshly as this federal district court judge, Ian Johnston, did. So Governor J.B. Pritzker said that, I'm confident that this is going to be upheld and that this is constitutional. Clearly it's not, because here we have a judge saying that this is, quote, stupid. I mean, very rarely does a judge go and is that outspoken about this, about a law. So it was a Friday ruling. It's a written order, and it's out. And what it does is it limits the enforcement of this new law. Basically eliminates the enforcement of this new law, SB 1909. And it targets really pro-life people. It targets pregnancy resource centers who offer so much. I mean, I've toured these places. They do ultrasounds. They do baby diapers. They do clothes. They provide so much for the mother. And they are saying that these pregnancy resource centers are spreading misinformation. And Governor J.B. Pritzker said it himself. He goes, it's much like the case. See, what Jack Smith has done is so evil that now we have people like Governor J.B. Pritzker using this. Oh, well, you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie. That's what this whole J6 case against Donald Trump is all about. And now Governor J.B. Pritzker is using that argument in this case, and the judge isn't having it. It was brutal what he said about the bill, what he said about the law. It was a 14-page order that contained an analysis and precedent expected from a federal court on the First Amendment, free speech matters, and it recited actual textbook law. So I'm just going to say it now. Wherever Kwame Raoul and Governor J.B. Pritzker, wherever they were taught constitutional law, I'm sure their law professors, I would hope their law professors would have their faces in their hands asking, how could we have passed these guys? I sure hope that that's the case, because wow, a blatant attack really against freedom of speech. And Governor J.B. Pritzker said, oh, I can do this because Jack Smith is doing it against President Donald Trump. You see the consequences to Jack Smith's actions here. I'm going to be back. Speaking of that, Mike Pence accidentally admitted that he had the legal ability to turn 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. And I've got more on Donald Trump. He's demanding the recusal of this DC judge in this J6 conspiracy case. And he also wants to get a venue change. So I'll be back on the buzz. Wow. That's the danger of Jack Smith bringing this case against Donald Trump. You start to see these leftist psychopaths take that argument that you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie. And now they're going to prosecute their political opposition on what they deem to be true, right? But they lie about their political opposition. Oh, they're lying about that. What's JB, you're not the purveyor of truth. You don't know, okay, the truth. I'm sure of it. Okay, Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. Okay, and what these pregnancy resource centers are doing is of Jesus, and it is the truth, the way, and the life. They are not deceptive. Um, I've talked with these women who go to the pregnancy resource center and have gone to the pregnancy resource. I have family who goes to a pregnancy resource center out of Coal City. They have an affiliation to the local ones here, Living Alternatives. It's based out of Bloomington, out of Lincoln. I've gone there. They have medical staff. They have so many different counseling things that you can go through. They offer counseling to both men and women. They offer post-abortive services. They do not try to go and convince women to have their children. Um, they're not in the game of convincing. They're in the game of providing resources to women who choose life. Um, so I don't understand what Governor JB Pritzker's problem is. Oh wait, yes I do. He's felt that he is now emboldened because Jack Smith went after Donald Trump for essentially freedom of speech and essentially what he deems to be a lie. You can lie in this country. You have the right to lie. And I'm not saying Donald Trump lied. I think that he has a lot of evidence and a lot of people behind him who believe that that 2020 election was stolen. So Mike Pence, he's accidentally admitting now that he had the legal ability to turn the 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. So of course, what that does, it creates this indictment is just crumbling because the whole indictment is based off of, well, Donald Trump tried to illegally persuade Mike Pence into doing some sort of overturning of the 2020 election and giving it to the House of Representatives, and legally he can't do that. But Mike Pence himself admits that he had the legal ability to turn the 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. So quoted here, it would have resulted in the issue of being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literal chaos would have ensued. So he says the reason why he didn't turn it over to the House of Representatives, the 2020 election, was because he was afraid of the chaos. But he had the legal ability to do that as vice president. And he admits that. So what Jack Smith tried to argue was that he didn't have the legal ability to do that, and Trump was trying to conspire, and he was trying to get Mike Pence to do something that was illegal. Okay, so that's what the indictment is all about. But Mike Pence himself admits that he had the legal ability to do that and to reject the electoral vote, or well, to turn it over to the House of Representatives if he rejected the electoral vote. So we're going to be getting into that. I've got the tape. Mike Pence. Does anybody really like still listen to this guy? Like, honest, this guy is ridiculous. Who's listening to him? Who is he talking to? Because you're irrelevant, dude. Also want to talk about the Sound of Freedom. These lying freak jobs said that this wasn't a custody battle, that this wasn't a custody battle sort of thing. Update, it's exactly what it was. They're trying to say that the financer of the film Sound of Freedom was caught in some sort of kidnapping case, which is just not true. I'm going to unpack that, and you are going to see in real time how the leftist propaganda, fake news tries to get out there and sway public opinion. They're trying to demonize the Sound of Freedom film, and I don't know why they don't like it so much. I don't know if you are against a anti-human trafficking film. I question who you are as a person. If you're watching right now, go ahead and smash that like button. That would be great, of great help to me. Smash the like button. I see you watching. Go ahead, smash that like button. Share this out to your Facebook profiles. Share this out with your friends. I'm on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and type in your search bar Cat Peterson 929 on YouTube, and you can subscribe there. You get a little notification whenever I go live. It's great. It's a great time. So uh, we're back, and let's talk about Sound of Freedom. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Leftist propaganda versus reality. The Sound of Freedom funder charged. So they're trying to say that this guy funded the Sound of Freedom film. And that's just not true. He was one of like near 7,000 crowdfunders. I'm a crowdfunder. I donated to the film through Angel Studio Productions. Basically, what you could do is buy somebody else's ticket through this crowdfunding source. And now, what these corporate journalismers are doing, they're trying to smear this movie and say that the financer of the film has been arrested for kidnapping. No, this is a custody dispute. First of all. Second of all, he wasn't the financer of the film. He was one of 7,000, near 7,000 crowdfunders for the film, and anybody can donate to anything, right? I think I have a donation in my name. I get them all of the time. People donate in my name to the Satanic Temple um, because they know it would enrage me. So I get these little postcards saying, you donated. I got a lot of hecklers. Speaking of which, hecklers, if you'd like to text in, you're welcome to 309-451-9299. I know you're listening. I don't know why you're listening because I can hear your heads popping right now. And I'm sure your heads are going to pop when I mention this. Donald Trump looking to change the venue of this Washington, D.C. Court where he's got to face conspiracy charges. So Trump is demanding the recusal of the DC judge in the Jan 6 conspiracy case. Plus, he's looking to change the venue. We're going to talk about that. Plus, Mike Pence accidentally admitting that he had the legal ability to turn the 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. This is a big deal because Jack Smith's whole thing was that Mike Pence didn't have the legal ability to do that, and Donald Trump tried to conspire and get him to turn that over to the House of Representatives illegally. So right here, Mike Pence admitting this just shows how Jack Smith is wrong. He's totally wrong. He had the legal ability to turn that 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. All right, folks, we are going to be back in just a little bit with Regan Deering. She is running for the 88th Illinois State House as a representative. She's a Republican, so I'm hoping that she can join me here. Now, one thing, if you all are watching, I want you to like this show, like the program, share this out with your normie friends. Now, one thing that I want to get to is this Sound of Freedom, the leftist propaganda. Then also, did you guys hear about this? The national the Native American Guardians Association, the Washington Redskins. So you guys remember when it was called the Washington Redskins? They changed their name to the Washington Commanders because they wanted to be politically correct. Well, it turns out that there's a petition out there to try to restore the name Washington Redskins, and this petition was drafted up by the folks called the Native American Association. Oh, and they said, you can't cancel American history. Go Native Americans. So the Native Americans are behind this petition. And I think the running total right now is near 63,000. It's change.org petition, and it's supporting the changing of the Washington football team's name back to the Redskins. And this petition has gone viral. So it's a big deal. To have Native Americans out there saying that we're sick and tired of the wokeness, um, and we want the name back. So, I'm looking at this now. I mean, we're looking at 75,000 people as of yesterday. The petition was launched by an organization called the Native American Guardians Association, and they said that their goal is to end cancel culture of Native Americans. So, um, the Redskins had a long mutually beneficial relationship with the Indian community, with the American Indian community, and they wrote a letter here to the Washington Commanders to try to get this to change. So the team was renamed Redskins in 1933. This is a letter, according to a letter that this Native American Guardians Association wrote to the team. And they said that they carried that name for 87 years, during which the team won 5 NFL championships and 3 Super Bowls, and they want the name changed back. At this moment in history, we are formally requesting that the team revitalize its relationship with the Indian community by one, changing the name back to the Redskins, um, which recognizes America's original inhabitants, and using the team's historic name and legacy to encourage Americans to learn about, not cancel, the history of America's tribes and the role of in this in the found in the role of Native Americans, and how they founded the country. So Washington Commanders, they were the first team in North American sports to change their name due to wanting to be politically correct. The Cleveland Indians then followed, changing their name to the Guardians. So big petition out there. Do want to talk about the Sound of Freedom and how it's being attacked yet again. The corporate media, they're targeting this anti-human trafficking film. It's called Sound of Freedom. Have you seen it? Throw it into the comments section. If you've seen it, smash that like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cap Peterson 929 on YouTube. So there's this guy, and he was arrested for this custody battle, but they're saying that he was arrested for kidnapping, and he was a part of the crowdfunding efforts for the movie Sound of Freedom, which had over 6,000 people invest into the film. And one of the benefits of contributing to that effort was you get your names to roll in the credits. So corporate media has targeted the anti-human trafficking film. They say that he was arrested for kidnapping. This is a custody kind of thing. Libs spreading a ton of nonsense about the Sound of Freedom, acting like they've never heard of crowdfunding a film before. What a joke these headlines are. Uh, Now, I want to remind you that these are the same people who never said a word about Jeffrey Epstein until he was finally caught. And it really makes you think. They're trying to go after the good guys. They're trying to go after the movie Sound of Freedom again. One person who contributed what Deadline called an unidentified amount of money. I think we're looking at about $500 is what this guy contributed to the crowd fund for the Sound of Freedoms. His name is Fabian Marta. He was not a financer of the production, as Deadline said. That's fake news. He was part of this crowdfunding effort that raised approximately $5 million. So these are lying freak jobs, and it's leftist propaganda. We are going to be talking with Reagan here in just a little while. Keep tuned. morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Now, the Native American Guardians Association, they have this petition to restore the Washington Redskins name back to Washington Redskins. Now they're known as the Washington Commanders. And this petition has been going viral. So who's behind the petition? It's the group called Native American Guardians Association. So there you go. You can't cancel American history. Change.org, it's a petition, and they're supporting the changing of the Washington football team's name back to the Redskins. And this has been a viral petition. I can't wait to get to this story. But first, I was telling you a little bit about The Sound of Freedom and how the attacks have ramped up against this movie. The corporate media journalismers, they are targeting this anti-human trafficking film called Sound of Freedom. I've seen it. It's a great movie. I highly recommend you go watch it. And there have just been multiple claims that one of the many crowdfunders of the film got arrested for kidnapping. Not true. This is leftist propaganda. There's reality and then there's leftist propaganda. We're going to walk you through the leftist propaganda so that way you know that they lie to you. The crowdfunding efforts, okay, for Sound of Freedom, there was near like 7,000 people who have invested in this film. I being one of them, I donated, I don't know, like a couple of 20s to try to get people to go watch the film, right? You donate, and then that is supposed to buy somebody else's ticket because we want to raise awareness about this film. You can be a part of it by donating and making sure that everybody has the ability to go watch it. Okay, if financial reasons are the reason why you're not watching this film, there's this crowdfunding that has been going on. And in its crowdfunding efforts, The Sound of Freedom had like near 7,000 people invest in this film. And at the end of the show, at the end of the program, The Sound of Freedom, all of the names of the people who contributed to the crowdfunding effort, their names are on there. So the libs, they've been spreading a lot of nonsense, a ton of nonsense about The Sound of Freedom. And they are acting like they've never heard of crowdfunding a film before. These are the same people who never said a peep about Jeffrey Epstein until he was caught. And they still don't talk about how we don't have his list of clients. Right? Like, where's his list of clients? So these are the same types of people who never said a word about Jeffrey Epstein, but they're so quick to say that the financer of the Sound of Freedom film was arrested for kidnapping. They're talking about this 51-year-old guy, Fabian Marta. Now, he was not a financer of the production as the film, or of the production, as Deadline stated. So Deadline ran with a headline, said that the financer was of the film Sound of Freedom was arrested for kidnapping. That's not true. He was not the financer, okay? There was a crowdfunding effort and it raised about $5 million, and there were near 7,000 people who contributed. Now, this exclusive report from Deadline included details about a kidnapping case, and it's really not a kidnapping case. These lying leftist freak jobs said that it wasn't some sort of custody battle thing. In their rush to attack this anti-pedophile film, Sound of Freedom. They said that, hey, this isn't some sort of custody battle thing. But update, that's exactly what this is. He didn't get arrested for kidnapping. This guy, Fabian, he's a landlord for a woman who was involved in a custody dispute with her aunt. The circumstances, apparently, what the charges against Marta, this is what this is all about. He's a landlord for this woman who's in this custody battle with the aunt. And he's been providing living arrangements for the woman and her child. So Newsweek, they hopped on the story from Deadline, and they said that he was the funder of the film. Not true. Pop Crave, they tweeted out that Fabian was the financer of the movie. I mean, they have just been piling on. Rolling Stone, they piled on. And look, the Angel Studio CEO, his name's Neil Harmon. He came out with a statement and he said, just as anyone can invest in the stock market, everyone who meets the legal criteria can invest in Angel Studio projects. One of the perks of investing was the ability to have your name be listed in the credits. So our film speaks to this globally pervasive problem, and it is our hope that these perpetrators everywhere will be brought to justice no matter who they are. and that even more people will see the film to raise awareness. My question to you, why do they hate the film so much? Why do they hate it? I don't know why they hate it. Um, I do want to shift gears here. I think we're supposed to be meeting with Regan Deering here coming up in just a little bit. Um, so she's running in the Illinois State House. She's going to try to be representative in the 88th district. We're going to be talking with her. I'd like to get her thoughts on non-citizens becoming police officers and also the state law that I talked a lot about in the 6 o'clock hour that is unconstitutional. Governor J.B. Pritzker is trying to go after pregnancy resource centers financially. He's trying to penalize them through his acolyte, Kwame Raoul, the attorney general here in the state of Illinois. So there was a federal judge who knocked all of that off. Like he was like, "Nope, this is stupid." And I'm not even paraphrasing. He literally said, "This is stupid." And for a judge to go that far and mock not only the state law but also the attorney general, who Kwame Raoul, which I don't even understand how and why he's drafting legislation. He's not a legislator. He's supposed to be the attorney general, but apparently he's behind this legislation, which is just wild to me. So, before I get into all of that with Regan Deering, one thing that I wanted to bring to you was this petition that was launched by these Native American Guardians Association group. And they stated that their goal is to end the cancel culture of Native Americans. Yes, big yes. Uh, so we've got this group and they want the Washington Commanders to change their name back to the Redskins. And they've got a petition out there. I think it's over 75,000 people. That's their goal of getting to this 75,000 people. This viral petition. There's tens of thousands of signatures on it. And what's interesting is here's somebody from the actual Native Americans group. She's on Newsmax. I'm going to share her thoughts on the Washington Commanders changing the name and why she wants it changed back. I think it's important to listen to Native Americans in America. Let's take a listen to her. Here we go.
Gus, the senior advisor to the Native American Guardian Association, Haley Baumgardner. Haley, I heard this story and I was like, look, I'm not a huge football guy, but I thought taking away the name, that cuts to the soul of it.
Well, the Native Americans really were the first people that founded this country. The founding fathers relied on them in terms of shaping the U.S. Constitution, and they were the first targets of cancel culture, and we've had enough.
Yeah. Well, back in 2016, the Washington Post, of all places, conducted a poll asking Native Americans if they were offended by the name Redskins. 90% of them said, no, actually, we take it as an honor.
Exactly. And our recent online petition on change.org, Reclaim the Redskins, has had the same turnout.
Right. Well, it's crazy to me that it just seems like it's the white liberals who are upset about this.
Well, I definitely think it's the executive suite of the Commanders. I'm starting to wonder if they hired Megan Rapinoe as their head of marketing. They definitely missed Econ 101 too.
Oh, yeah. And it's like the same people who hired from the Bud Light community. But, Red Mesa Unified School District, this is in Arizona.
All right, so there you have it. I mean, she is one of the leaders here of this Native American Guardians Association, and they said that their goal is to end cancel culture of Native Americans. So they wrote a letter to the Commanders here, this group, and they congratulated the new owners on their purchase of the team, and then they urged them to restore and to return the name of the team to the Redskins. So they wrote in this letter that the Redskins had a long mutually beneficial relationship with the Indian community, the American Indian community, dating back to the team's founding back when it was called the Boston Braves in 1932. And at the time, in 1932, they actually had a Native American coach. And then the team was renamed in 1933 to the Redskins. And they, as Redskins, they had that name for 87 years. 87 years. And the team won 5 NFL championships, 3 Super Bowls. And in the letter, I'm just going to quote from the letter here from this group to the Commanders. At this moment in history, we are formally requesting that the team revitalize its relationship with the American Indian community by changing the name back to the Redskins, which recognizes America's original inhabitants, and using the team's historic name and legacy to encourage Americans to learn about, not cancel, the history of America's tribes and our role in the founding of this great nation. So you get nowhere when you cancel. Okay, this cancel culture crap is just garbage. And the Washington Commanders, they were the first team in North America or North American sports to change their name due to wanting to be politically correct. The Cleveland Indians, they followed, changing their names to the Guardians. And cancel culture for Native Americans. Do it now. Do it now. Um, Now, another story I did want to get to, I'm going to have a couple of minutes here to get through this, but I'm going to pick it up on the other side. Hopefully, Reagan joins us then. Uh, she's running for the Illinois State Representative spot in the 88th District. Mike Pence, folks, one thing I wanted to get to, he accidentally admits that he had the legal ability to turn the 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. He says in this clip that I'm going to play for us that he had the ability to do this, and he didn't do it because he was afraid of chaos ensuing. So let's take a listen here to what Mike Pence says. Listen to this. Pence just admitted he did have the authority to turn the election over to the House under the Constitution. And this is a big deal because it goes directly against what Jack Smith is charging Donald Trump for, conspiracy. Let's take a listen here.
It wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued. So, Martha, I just people can read the indictment, and frankly, I've said before, I had hoped it had not come to this point. You know, I don't know if the government can meet the standard, the burden of proof beyond reasonable doubt for criminal charges. But the American people deserve to know that President Trump and his advisors didn't just ask me to pause. They asked me to reject votes, return votes, essentially to overturn the election. It wasn't just.
But he had the legal ability to do that. So Jack Smith, he's got this whole case against Donald Trump saying that there's conspiracy and that Donald Trump was trying to, strong arm Mike Pence into turning over that election to the House of Representatives. And Jack Smith makes the argument in the indictment that Donald Trump was trying to do this and he didn't have the legal ability to, as vice president, to turn that over to the House of Representatives. But you can literally hear in that clip, Mike Pence, I think he accidentally admit that he had the legal ability to turn that 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. Pence just admitted that. This means he admits he knew he had the legal ability to do that, and it proves that the efforts to prepare for that could not have been illegal conspiracy. Okay. Joining me now, Regan Deering. She is here with me. I'm so excited. She's running for the Illinois State House in the 88th District. Regan, thanks so much for joining the program.
Good morning, Kat. Good morning to your listeners.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so there's one thing that I really want to get to today, and this is the state law where Governor J.B. Pritzker is trying to go after pregnancy resource centers, and Attorney General Kwame Raoul is tasked with deciding whether or not these people are being deceptive in their information to women who are pregnant. And he is tasked with fining them, issuing fines of like $50,000 or such. So Governor J.B. Pritzker on tape says, and I'm quoting here, "You have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie." Your thoughts, and how, as a state representative, are you going to be able to prevent I mean, it's not me saying it's unconstitutional. It's a federal judge saying that this law is unconstitutional. And plus, I don't even really think that the legislature had a whole lot to do with it. I think Kwame Raoul and his little assistant were kind of working on this, and they were the ones that were pushing this legislation. So how do we restore order really to the state house and to have state representatives drafting legislation? And how do you stop unconstitutional legislation from getting to court and federal judges saying this is stupid? It's kind of embarrassing, really, as a constituent.
Yeah, well, Governor Pritzker has definitely promised to make Illinois one of the most progressive states in the nation. And we're clearly working our way towards being the abortion capital of the Midwest. So this piece of legislation is just one other example of how he is going to continue to push his ideology on, the citizens of Illinois. And so too often Republicans are just sitting back and letting it happen to us. We've got to get courageous and align with our constituents and make sure that every chance that we get, specifically on this issue, that the pro-life position is on the right side. It's the compassionate position. It's ones where we care about women. And, our state legislatures are supposed to be in control of writing this legislation. This is clearly an unconstitutional piece of legislation, as was quickly evidenced by the court ruling. And, it's just one other example of how those in power are changing the narrative, changing the rules. So as the next state representative in the 88th, it's going to be my job to stand in that gap and be courageous and, have a reliance on my life experience, on talking to my constituents and knowing what is good legislation and what is good policy that we want to have enacted.
Yeah, and something and creating policy that isn't tyrannical. I mean, taking away people's freedom of speech. This is the work of tyrants, and I think that that's like step one. Hey, how do we create legislation that's not tyrannical, that tramples all over basic, fundamental rights like being able to speak freely?
You're
Now,
absolutely right. I mean, this is a lot of what the governor has done with his unwielded power is take a look at, the mask mandates, the vaccine mandates. These are all examples of how our government is trying to force their positions and their ideologies on us citizens. And it's time we have elected officials that just stand up and say no more. I mean, we've
mhm.
got to resort to the courts. Sometimes that's challenging in Illinois. I mean, we just had the Safety Act that went to the Illinois Supreme Court and unfortunately was voted down along party lines, 5-2. So elections matter. And this is something that we all have to be talking about. We all have to re-engage in the voting process. We have to research our candidates and we have to talk to and elect conservatives that are going to go to Springfield and fight for what we truly believe in.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people are gonna say, "Well, Kat, these, 7," and you've been endorsed by Dan Calkins, who was a part of that Freedom Caucus, and I don't know what they're at now. Maybe their number is like 10, if that, maybe more like 7 representatives who are in this Freedom Caucus in Springfield. And people say, "Well, they don't do much, and they're just kind of, a thorn in the side." But they do, because you can hear in Governor J.B. Pritzker's, voice and even in most of his statements how worried and unsettled he is by this so-called far right, right? He calls it the far right, but every single time he makes reference to the so-called far right, he's probably talking about the Illinois Freedom Caucus. And just the other day, he goes, "These right-wing extremists, they're taking to Facebook and they're spreading misinformation." And I know for a fact that he's talking about the Illinois Freedom Caucus. He's probably talking about Darren Bailey, his prior opponent in that governor's race, who goes on Facebook pretty much daily to try to inform the public about things like the Safety Act being unconstitutional. And, to those people, I say, look, it does make a difference because JB is sweating, like literally and
We have to
physically.
stand
Yeah.
up. I mean, I think that, the language that the media is perpetuating about extremists and far right and MAGA is a mislabeling because we
Yeah.
care about our state and we care about our country. I mean, I'm running to protect this next generation. I have 3 teenagers in my household, and I generally fear for their future in Pritzker's, Illinois. I mean,
Mm.
this government overreach in so many arenas is going to be damaging to our state. We have people leaving at record numbers. They're taking their tax dollars, they're taking their families, they're taking their businesses. And we that want to stay here for all the right reasons that make Illinois a great state are tired of just taking it on the chin and saying, oh, well, we're in the super minority. There's nothing we can do about that. I call bull. We've got to stand in that gap. We have to be able to make a valid argument. I mean, a lot of this legislation is done in the dark of night. It's done by just ramming through really poor legislation. I mean, you mentioned earlier wanting to talk about, the legislation that allows non-citizens to become police officers. I mean, I had a conversation with a Republican that voted yes for it the second time it came back to the House, and she basically blamed it on a miscommunication and a lack of information from their caucus. Okay, those 7 Freedom Caucus members stood in the gap and voted it down the second time when they had changed some of the language, which is what happens all the time. But we can't just continue to say, well, we didn't know better. I mean, we have staff, right? We have to read the language in the documents. We've got to be able to look for those little pieces of legislation that are going to make it unacceptable to our constituents. And so, you know, I am a former educator. I'm a lifelong learner. I mean, the devil's in the details. And I think we are seeing that more and more often in this legislation that's being passed during session. So I intend to go and be one of those people that is paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, when it boils down to it, it's really not all that hard. I mean, a lot of life's problems have very simple solutions, and it's just reading it. And I know that's probably easier said than done. It's probably very hard to get through. I mean, what was it? His budget was like like a pile long of papers. I forget how many pages, but it was
Thousands.
insanity. And I'm sure it is very hard. That as constituents, and I don't know if you're a woman of faith, I pray for my elected officials every day. Say just a quick prayer, you know, God give them the power, the strength to be able to get
The
through.
wisdom.
Yeah, the wisdom. Yeah, God give our elected officials the wisdom that they need to get through this. Just it is the devil's in the details. It's the devil in these in these bills. And the non-citizens becoming police officers, there were quite a few Republicans who voted for that, and to be frank with you, I just think it's because they didn't read it. And like you said, you talked to somebody who said I was misinformed. Yeah, and I'm really worried about that one because it's DACA recipients and the misinformation that's coming from Governor J.B. Pritzker. DACA recipients are illegal immigrants. They're not. They're afforded the ability to stay here and not be deported. However, they are illegal immigrants here on a deferred action program. It's deferred action, meaning we won't deport you because you're in a situation. It's made for children, right? But it's kind of interesting because recipients of the DACA program, the average age is like 29. And I know people who are on the DACA program who are like 30, 40-year-old men. And I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's called a childhood. But yeah, I'm really concerned about that because he's spreading misinformation. And Regan, we've got to cut to break. But tell me a little bit more about how we can find out about your race in the 88th, the state house, and how can we get a hold of you if we have questions?
Yeah, so my website is reganforillinois.com, and we have a Facebook page as well. We're trying to talk about the issues where we're going to be, you know, all 4 counties that are in the 88th district map. We've been visiting, we've been meeting with constituents, raising dollars, building that momentum for this conservative movement that is going to lead me to Springfield. So we'd love people to join up, sign on for being a volunteer, hosting a small event, anywhere that may be, making a financial contribution. We really are taking this grassroots movement along to Springfield, and we're going to stand up and have a louder conservative voice.
Wonderful. And Regan, you have a great rest of your day, and happy Tuesday to you. Happy Tuesday.
Kat.
And
You
good
too.
luck. All
Appreciate
right,
it.
folks, we're going to be back in just a little bit. I do want to chat about Donald Trump calling for and really demanding the recusal of this DC judge. That's next. All right, we're going to be back. I've got a caller on the line. We're going to talk about how these state legislators don't even read the flippin' bills. And I'm going to bring you some numbers here. So, the Illinois General Assembly passed a budget that included a $1,600 pay raise for state lawmakers who already rank among the nation's highest paid. So, state lawmakers in the state of Illinois, they're among the highest paid in the nation. Now I'm looking at their salary. The national average of a lawmaker is $38,000. When you calculate us out, it's about $70,000 um, in the state of Illinois, which is completely insane. Illinois lawmakers um, are in Springfield for about 70 days each year, but their salaries exceed the state's median household income of $61,000. So they're getting paid like 70,000 plus a bunch of bonuses, travel stipends, things like that. So hold on just a second. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz, and I've got a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name? I'm sorry I didn't grab that through the break.
Oh, that's fine. My name is Dave, and Kat, I didn't tell you, as you've been talking about all this, this is one of the reasons why I've moved out of Illinois. I'm actually calling you from Texas.
Oh, wow. Hey, a caller from Texas. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning.
Yeah,
well,
we listen to you every morning via the online. So it's great listening to you.
Online, we're on YouTube, Kat Peterson 929. You can subscribe to the channel. We're on Facebook this morning, Twitter, Rumble. I appreciate the you listening, even from Texas. So you were really passionate here about what's going on in Springfield and how state lawmakers in Illinois aren't even reading these darn bills. And can you explain why you're so frustrated by that? I don't think that you really need to explain it so much, but tell me about your frustration. And I can't believe it. I mean, you left Illinois because of the policy.
Oh yeah, and I got to say, I received a raise just crossing the border. I didn't receive a raise from my company. I received a raise just leaving the state because I'm not paying federal or for state income tax. So, and I'm in a nice raise too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the thing I'm really frustrated with, as she was mentioning, is that these bills are being passed, and we have Republicans that aren't even reading the bills after they're submitted. So my question is, why bother voting, or why bother voting for a Republican if you're not going to do what we're sending you to do there? What are you doing there?
Exactly.
There's no point in it.
Well, yeah, and then I'm telling you a little bit about how I knew we were one of the highest paid. I didn't realize how much these state lawmakers made, but the Illinois Policy Institute, they've got the numbers here. They just recently voted for another increase. I think it was like a $12,000 pay raise. They added 11,000 something. 11,655 per lawmaker, raising the base to $85,000 a year to work part-time. And for folks, they probably spend about 70 days per year in Springfield in session. And these are the fourth highest paid state lawmakers in the nation. So, I mean, and they're making $85,000 a year. That's at least $30,000 more than the state's median income, household income. That's a lot of money. And then the average is about $40,000 a year for state lawmakers. So we're one of the highest paid in the nation when it comes to state lawmakers. And they voted for themselves in 2023 in January for a 16% raise during a late night vote on January 6th of 2023. So when you couple
that doesn't include the fact they're getting a health care benefit too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, pensions. Oh yeah, yep,
Mm-hmm.
Pensions. They've got their travel stipends. It's insanity, and it's like, wait a second, you're getting paid all of this money, and you didn't even read the bill. That I mean, I believe unconstitutionally, and what a lot of people are saying is against federal law to have non-citizens equipped with a badge and gun and arresting powers over citizens. Just didn't make
and I have been telling the people here in Texas about how crazy it is. They can't believe it. I mean, we have a border issue here, and they can't believe that you're actually going to empower people to enforce the law that aren't obeying the law themselves.
Dave,
I don't understand that. And I don't know how Pritzker is defending that. I don't know how the Democrats are supporting that, but it doesn't make sense.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Dave, thanks so much for calling in today. I so do appreciate it. And I'm glad that you've settled in a place probably a little less crazy than here in the state of Illinois. So,
Well, it's a little hotter, but it's definitely worth the heat.
you have a great rest of your day, Dave. Folks, we do have to take a break. We're going to be back with Scott Robbins on the other side. It's for Scott's Takes. Happens every morning at about 7:40. So keep it right here. We're going to be talking with Scott Robbins. Plus, a little bit later, we will be getting into this story about Donald Trump demanding that this judge recuse herself from this J6 conspiracy case. And he's also asking for a change of venue. We'll be back.
who they can just fill in the name. I blah 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 want to apologize for blah blah blah. I'll do the work. Blah blah. You know, that's it. It's absolutely the same one over and over again. And this time it was a guy I've heard of, but barely heard of because I'm not in that world, is a rapper by the name of Ne-Yo. Now, I don't think he's the biggest rapper on the planet, but I think he's you know, somewhere in AAA of the rapper world, right? But he was doing an interview the other day, and the transgenderism thing came up, and he had a very strong take on it. He was like, no, I think he said he had five to seven kids. He said, you know, my kids want candy all the time. They're 5, 6 years old. I don't give them candy all the time. No, you don't get that. I mean, the kids want to do a lot of things that you as adults have to step in and say, no, we're not allowing this. He said, but somehow we've got ourselves in a position where if you want to change your sex and alter yourself forever, you're allowed to do that. That's insanity. And if you don't, as a parent, if you don't affirm it, then California, they can take your kids away from you. He said, I can't believe this is happening. And this is a rapper, right? So we were going to do the story yesterday on MVR. And then David Van Camp said, hey, I think he's already walked it back. I'm like, are you kidding me? He walked it back? And sure enough, there it was. I need to do my work, and I don't mean to. I apologize.
I need to be re-educated.
Right. And they always do that, right? Do the work, educate yourself. Those are two of the favorites from the left, you know. And I thought to myself, damn, he sounded really like he had conviction behind what he was saying. And he was like, you don't have to agree with me. I'm just said it, right? Well, that came out from his publicist. So this Ne-Yo rapper guy gets wind of the fact that his publicist has apologized on his behalf and went, well, wait a minute. I'm not apologizing for anything. So he put this video out, and this is what he had to say.
What's going on, loved ones? This is Ne-Yo. All right, listen. I normally don't give too much of a damn about what y'all think about what I do, what y'all have to say about what I say, whatever. I normally don't care because, like I said, opinions ain't special. Everybody got one. However, this is something I feel very strongly on, and I need y'all to hear this from the horse's mouth, not the publicist's computer. So check this out. First and foremost, I do not apologize for having an opinion on this matter. I am a 43-year-old heterosexual man raising 5 boys and 2 girls, okay? That's my reality. Now, if my opinion offended somebody, yeah, sure, I apologize for you being offended because that wasn't my intention. My intention is never to offend anybody. However, I'm entitled to feel how I feel. I'm absolutely entitled to feel how I feel the same way you are entitled to feel how you feel. I ain't asked nobody to follow me. I ain't asked nobody to agree with me. I was asked a question and I answered the damn question, okay? I have no beef with the LGBTQIA plus community whatsoever.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
There you go.
I was worried too. I saw that. Yeah,
I like the way he said opinions aren't special. Everyone has one.
Yep.
Opinions aren't special. Everyone has one. Yes.
Yeah, and he was asked a question and he answered from his heart. Like, do we want to live in a world where people just are inauthentic and can't answer the way they truly feel? I mean,
well, no, but I mean, in a lot of situations, you're forced into that, right? I mean, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 people in that world, in the celebrity world that he's in, would have allowed the publicist just to give the answer and throw it out there. I mean, we see this all the time with politicians too, when they issue statements. Do you think Joe Biden's actually tweeting anything? Of course not. He's not. He doesn't know anything about it. Somebody's doing it for him. And he's not the first. I mean, you know, there's been other presidents certainly that have allowed other people to speak for them. But in this world of constantly, in touch with each other and communication, and there's no original thought given to any of this stuff. It's all just, it's prepackaged and it's sent out there for your consumption. And if you say the problem, I think he understands that, this Ne-Yo, you can never apologize enough. You can never apologize enough. Once you go down that road, you can't apologize enough. Doesn't matter what you do after that. Look, they go back 10, 20 years on people. They don't care. They'll wreck your life. They don't care.
And they'll take and did you see Jamie Foxx? He had to bend the knee because they were calling him anti-Semitic. He put out some sort of post, and I read it like 6, 7 times, and I was like, anybody with a brain, like a functioning brain, could see that this was not an anti-Semitic post. It was
No, of
just
course
him
not. But
airing a grievance about a friend, I guess.
But again, you can't bend the knee enough. It doesn't matter what you do. So you might as well own it and make sense of it. You know, like he said, hey, man, I don't hate anybody. I have an opinion. It's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. That's the thing. I'm not entitled to your opinion. I don't want your opinion. You're not entitled to it. If you don't like mine, that's fine. You got other opinions and other voices you can certainly hear. You're not forced to listen to my opinion. It's really incredible. All right. Moving on. Did you see Pumpkin Spice, by the way? Pumpkin Spice said, I think Starbucks is coming out already.
Oh, whoa. I know. I've seen a few Halloween spirits pop out, and I'm like, oh, gosh, already? I'm one of those people where I was singing Jingle Bells yesterday because I'm so excited about Christmas. So August 1st hits, and I'm like singing Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Oh, boy. Well,
my favorite Christmas song.
I'm glad we didn't go to lunch yesterday then. I said, you got to leave. If you're going to start that stuff, you got to go.
I love Christmas.
But I did see that was one of the big stories this morning on one of the morning shows. The big pumpkin spice lattes are out, and already it's just August. What's going on? Well, this is typical of everything, right? I mean, we get through August, you're going to see Christmas stuff popping up all over the place. Guarantee it. Because the Halloween is sort of one of those things where you go from Halloween to Christmas. That's the launching pad almost every year.
Oh yeah.
Because there is no Thanksgiving is like the forgotten holiday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really is. Also, one other thing in marketing, I don't know if you happen to see this or not today. Do you like chili cheese Fritos? Cat to you.
I don't think I've really. Oh, well, I guess I've called them walking tacos. I've had those before, where it's like the Frito bag, and then you put like all of your taco toppings in the bag.
Well, they're coming out with a Yellowstone chili cheese corn chips. These Fritos, Yellowstone. It's got the Yellowstone logo on it. I don't know what the connection is with the chili cheese Fritos. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if Rip Wheeler eats chili cheese Fritos when he goes to the bunkhouse. I don't know. Or to the train station as a snack on his way to the train station. I don't know. But anyway, I guess there's like some kind of code on there too. You can scan a free trip to Montana and all that. So I like the tie-in stuff, and sometimes it makes absolutely no sense. You know, the official tire of Major League Baseball. What? The official tire of Major League Baseball. There is such a thing. All right. We need the official tire of the Cat Peterson Show.
Yes.
That's
when am
what
I
we
going to
need.
get some tie-in?
Yeah, we need to get some of that and special snack food, official snack food. All right, talk to you later. See you. Have a good day.
Talk to you later, Scott
All right,
Robbins. Scott's Takes, it's every morning here on the Morning Buzz at about 7:40. So you guys can tune in Monday through Friday. Scott Robbins will be back on Cities 92.9 at 8 o'clock for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. You're listening to Cities 92.9. All right, folks, if you're watching right now, go ahead and smash the like button. We're going to be back in about 20 seconds with some stories I wanted to hit. Definitely the corporate media journalism are smearing the Sound of Freedom film. But also, I do want to talk a bit more about Donald Trump demanding the recusal of this DC judge in the January 6th conspiracy case. And he's asking for a change of venue. So we're going to be right back. Be sure to smash that like button if you're watching. She needs to get out of there. I'm just saying, this DC judge, Donald Trump demanding the recusal of this DC judge over this January 6th conspiracy case. This morning, I kind of disproved that this was a conspiracy case because we've got Mike Pence on tape accidentally admitting that he had the legal ability to turn the 2020 election over to the House of Representatives. He said that he wouldn't do that because he was afraid of chaos ensuing if he were to turn over that election to the House of Representatives. And I mean, it just crumbles because that proves if he had the legal ability and he admit that he had the legal ability to do that, what that does, that proves that the efforts to prepare for that could not have been illegal conspiracy. Okay, so the efforts building up to try to prepare for Vice President Mike Pence to turn over that 2020 election to the House of Representatives, all of those efforts to prepare to do that could not have been illegal conspiracy because he had the ability to do that legally. So the indictment from Jack Smith, it alleges that Donald Trump enlisted 6 co-conspirators to try to assist him in his criminal efforts to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election. The indictment alleges that Donald Trump was determined to remain in power after the 2020 election, and for the 2 months following the election, the defendant spread lies and said that there was an outcome of fraud in the election and that he actually won. So what they're trying to say here is that Donald Trump was trying to get Vice President Mike Pence to overturn those election results over to the House of Representatives, and that him trying to do that was illegal because Mike Pence didn't have the legal ability to do that. But Pence on tape admits that he does. Dismiss the case, dismiss it today. Donald Trump has vowed that he's going to try to seek a venue change for his trial on conspiracy charges related to the alleged attempts to overthrow the 2020 election, as well as he's asking for the recusal of this judge, Tanya Chutkin, and he's asking for her to not be assigned to the case. He wrote on Truth Social, "We will be immediately asking for the recusal of this judge on very powerful grounds and likewise for a venue change out of DC." He wrote that it would be impossible to get a fair trial in DC, which is over 90% anti-Trump, and for which I have called a federal takeover in order to bring our capital back to greatness. So he talks about how there's corruption in DC. This is at the heart of it, the swamp. And little thing about the judge here that you need to know is that she gave all kinds of money to Obama. It was revealed that she donated $4,000 to his campaign and to his victory fund, both in 2008 and 2012. And Chutkin has also been known to give really harsh sentences to these J6 defendants. And she goes even above and beyond what the Biden DOJ suggests for these defendants. A lot of times she goes beyond the request of sentencing, and she either matches it from the Biden DOJ or she goes above and beyond what the Biden DOJ recommends for these types of people. The West Virginia Attorney General has suggested that the trial be moved to his state. He says Donald Trump is not going to get a fair shake in D.C. That is the home of the swamp. So we're going to be back here in just a little bit. Mike Coolidge joining me on the other side. do. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. And this woman melting down, I think it's really funny, but it's not really funny. It's kind of sad, but she kind of did it to herself indirectly by voting for leftist progressive policies in San Francisco. She's melting down and she's describing this incident that happened in San Francisco. And she talks about how a man approached her and said, "Move out of the way or I'm going to rape you." And he spit in her face. And it's just shocking that things like that happen in San Francisco. But it's not so shocking because when you look at it, the leftist policies are the reason why. We're also going to get to the Native American Guardians Association. They've got this petition and it's gone viral. They want to restore the name to Washington Redskins. They're called the Washington Commanders now. Um, you can't cancel American history, okay? Calling it the Washington Commanders is politically correct and it erases really American history. So we've got a group out there. They've got this petition. I think it's like 75,000 strong. They want the name back to the Washington Redskins. So that petition has gone viral. Oh, wow. In studio with me, you know him, you love him, Mike Coolidge. He ran for Congress. He is a spokesperson for the people who play by the rules pact, a communications consultant for TMKS. And wow, I mean, we get to meet each other in person.
So awesome. And the thing I'm maybe proudest most about, 15 years syndicated radio broadcaster and talk show host, including for a time here on Cities 92.9.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been coming on your show for a while, but we've never met in person. And I have to say, and I've had this told to me before, when my listeners would meet me in person, they'd say, "Mike, you're a little shorter than I thought you would be." And Kat, you are a little taller than I thought you would be. You probably
Really?
get that too. I always thought of you as kind of short. You're not. You're like my height, which is like 6'1", 6'2". No, not quite. 5'8", 5'9". I always say I'm taller than Greg Gutfeld. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I'm definitely taller than him.
Are a
But,
little shorter than what I imagined, but not much.
Yeah.
Well, and then we keep up with each other on Facebook and
Yes.
stuff like that. So I was like, okay. And I followed the Mike Coolidge show way back when Cities was carrying your show. So
Yeah.
when were you nationally syndicated?
Well, statewide syndicated.
Statewide.
Yeah. I was on a total of 20 stations throughout Illinois. I was on a competitor here in, well, yeah, I could say it now because I'm not on the air anymore. I was on the other station in Bloomington, JBC.
Oh, yeah, WJBC.
Yeah, I was on that. I was on all simultaneously on ROK in Rockford, on in 101.9 in Decatur. And my show was independently syndicated live from 9 to 11 every day, but at various times throughout the day on these various stations. Because I was on just in Illinois, I talk about national stuff all the time, but I could talk about Pritzker and Blagojevich and Quinn and Rauner and the Senate races and stuff at that time when stuff affected our entire state. I could talk about that. I didn't have to regionalize it to whatever stations I was on. But anyway, I ended the show specifically to run for Congress. And then I worked and still do technically work for this PAC, but also I have this communications consulting firm. But I miss the nitty gritty of talking every single day about politics. So I rub my hands together every Tuesday morning when I'm able to come on with you at 7. And I know I'm a little delayed because I drove hour and 45 minutes to come here this morning just to do it in person. And I'm thrilled to be here.
From Rochelle. So tell me a little bit about Rochelle.
Yeah, Rochelle is called the Hub City. It's at the intersection of 39 and 88. And it is almost exactly halfway between Iowa and Chicago. And we were chatting a little bit off the air. We have very similar stories. I'm a little bit older than you. Obviously, I'm a young Gen Xer, but I got my start producing in Chicago for the Spike Odell show. I interned there after grad school, learned how the radio business worked. And I said, I want to be on the air every day, Spike. Where should I go? What should I do? He's like, you got to send your tape out everywhere, CDs, and get somebody to hire you every day. And I sent it all over the country. And Rochelle was the first to offer me an afternoon show. I got that in 06, syndicated the show in 08, and did that for 13 years, syndicated 2 years just on one station. I went to the White House. I broadcast from the White House. Trump invited me to broadcast from the White House. That was my final year, or my final one of the second to last year in 2019. I went to every convention, Republican and Democrat one since 08. all the way up to 2020, which was canceled because of COVID. I was at Blagojevich's impeachment in Springfield. That shows you how far that I go back. And I go to CPAC every single year. Did that for 13 years. I brought the show to the Cubs and White Sox spring training for about 5-6 years in a row. Bears training camp. Had a lot of fun, Kat. It's fun radio. And my favorite part is listeners, connecting with listeners.
I know, that's my favorite part. I end the show every day and I say, I love you guys. And
Yeah.
I really do mean that because, I mean, I guess I've been here since 2017, graduated from Illinois State University in 2021. So I guess I've been living here for quite some time. It doesn't feel that way though, because, you know, I was in college for most of that time. So I
Sure.
really wasn't a part of the community. But now that I'm a part of the community, it's like I've got all kinds of friends through the air and through the airwaves. It's like you meet people. I mean, just earlier in the show, we were talking to a new friend of mine, Dave. He moved to Texas and said that he's not in town anymore, but he left because of Illinois is a mess. Is a mess. But it's so great to get to interact with listeners.
Yeah, it is. You talk about community, like that's what it is, and this is why it's so different than a podcast. Podcasts are great; they're giant. Everyone does them. This, technically is a podcast if you put it online. But with podcasts, your listeners are all over the country. They share one particular thing, but it's not as broad. Everyone listening to this right now on the regular old radio, or if they're listening to the stream and they're in Illinois and they're in the Bloomington Normal community, they're part of the same community you are, the same things that you care about politically, they do. And it's always cool when I would go to an event or even just go grocery shopping or something. Hey, Mike Coolidge, how's it going, man? I loved your segment this morning on blah, blah, blah. And you're talking about where our country's going, where our state is going, or just fun stuff. Like what concerts you're going to this weekend or whatever. I don't know. I just love it. And it's a really awesome thing to hear you on the radio as much as I can before I come on. I'm a little bit further north than you. But even just driving down here, I had you on the whole time and I was like, gosh, you're having a lot of fun on the air. And I'm sure that comes through to listeners that you're having fun. You can't be boring and bored when you're in your studio, and you're definitely having a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, just so much fun. And I like to do a blend of both state, national, and even hyper local stuff. Speaking of which, folks, real quick, I did want to inform you guys about some breaking news. Mike Coolidge, we're doing some breaking news.
Breaking news.
So this came out this morning that there were reports from some Rivian employees. Now this is about 3 minutes from Rivian itself, possible shooting. And we haven't heard anything from the Bloomington Police Department, the Normal Police Department about it yet. But
the electric car manufacturer, Rivian.
Yeah. Who are in really some hot water right now, both financially and they've got another sexual harassment suit on their hands here locally, which we're going to get to. But the shooting, possibly one deceased, happened right by this Ashley Home Store furniture place at about 10:30 last night. So we're going to get some updates on that. Then this sexual harassment suit, we're told, is a sexual harassment suit. Now, according to court documents, it just says that there's civil rights employment issues. Her name is Christy Consenza, and she filed this in 2023, just last week, August 3rd. And the reason why I bring this up is because Rivian was in hot water in 2022 when this woman named Angela brought forward another complaint in federal court. So big stuff happening at Rivian. We're going to get you guys updates on both those stories. You can find them on cities929.com. But Mike Coolidge, the reason why I want to have you on studio, well, you came down in person, which is exciting, but we're going to co-host a little bit here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the state law that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed into law. It's SB 1909. Some people know it, where they are trying to penalize pregnancy resource centers for deceptive practices, whatever the Attorney General Kwame Raoul deems a deceptive practice. So you ran for Illinois Congress.
U.S. Congress, yes.
U.S. Congress.
Right. Didn't win, so it doesn't matter.
I don't understand. So Kwame Raoul, I think, was instrumental in creating the legislation with an assistant of his, which I don't know. To me, I'm like, wait a second, don't we have lawmakers who make laws?
Technically, anyone can write a law. You can write a law. I can write a law, and the legislators they can take it and then put it up for debate and then have it go through the legislature. But literally anyone can write a law. So Kwame Raoul writing it, that's fine. It's completely against the First Amendment, though. And I know you covered this earlier in the show because I was listening on the way down. But there's something about the left. They despise two things more than anything else, I think. It's the First Amendment and the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
They could rewrite everything. They would just get rid of both of those amendments. Everything about this law is against the inherent right we have to freely speak our mind. A lot of people forget, not to go off on this whole founding fathers tangent, but the brilliance of our founding fathers was that they said, look, we have an inherent God-given right to protect ourselves from other people with guns if need be. We have an inherent right to freely express ourselves and give our opinions. And we're going to write this constitution here that prohibits the government from infringing on that right. Well, here you have Kwame Raoul, J.B. Pritzker saying that these these pregnancy centers, and yes, one of them is in Rockford, and I've actually raised money for that pregnancy center in Rockford. It's fantastic. They are trying to save option and the information and alternative to terminating their child's life through abortion. That makes people like Kwame Raoul, J.B. Pritzker, leftist Democrat pro-choicers heads explode. They want to, gosh, I heard you play that clip of Pritzker on CNN, just bragging about people moving to Illinois, rolling out the red carpet for people, not moving to Illinois, I'm sorry, just coming temporarily into the state to terminate their children's lives. And he wants to stop these pregnancy centers from expressing their viewpoint. And it's insane.
Let's take a listen to that clip. Governor J.B. Pritzker on CNN. It was a broadcast. I think it was called CNN This Morning. I don't know. I don't watch CNN, but this was on Friday morning.
But released data from one of their clinics in your state. They saw a 35% increase in total abortion patients, 40% of those coming from out of states. Do you believe that what you have set up in terms of infrastructure for that can handle the influx without delays to others?
Not yet. I mean, the answer is we've got to increase capacity. We're doing everything that we can, though. Frankly, we've got to build out facilities. We've got to make sure that we're giving people the proper procedures to follow. And of course, we want people to know that their rights are protected in this.
That's what they have to do. Think that we have to build out facilities. I know you're a little bit younger than me. I came to age in college in the 90s. The Democrats, the pro-choicers, even in the 90s, said they wanted abortion to be safe, legal, and rare. It was in the Democrat platform. That is ancient history to these modern abortionists, these pro-aborts who, as you just heard, that's sinister what he's doing. It's absolutely sinister. And I know that she brought up, to her credit, the CNN host, the idea that they're infringing on First Amendment rights to do this. And thankfully, this judge in Rockford, this great judge, he has two different cases that he has injunctions going on to stop this from becoming law or being implemented, which is great. He's saying, no, you can't restrict anyone's right to give information, and that new term disinformation or misinformation, a completely made up word, is what they're hiding behind and trying to criminalize that to the tune of $50,000 per infraction. These great pregnancy centers, these care centers, will be eventually out of business because it's per infraction. You have a pamphlet that they deem has 3 or 4 bits of misinformation in it. That's $200,000. They can't run with those kind of funds.
No. And we have to take a quick break, but we're going to continue that clip a little bit because he says something, and I'm going to quote him here. And him saying this just alone makes me want to pack up my stuff and go. He says, you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to lie, which is just untrue.
Totally.
So we're going to unpack that here on the other side. You guys can join us on the stream, YouTube, Facebook. find me on YouTube. It's Kat Peterson 929. Joining me, communicator, PAC spokesman, former congressional candidate, syndicated radios, U.S. Army captain, and proud Illinoisan, Mike Coolidge, on the other side.
Loss of property value, Council then unanimously voted to approve resolutions for an annexation agreement and a project development agreement for Archer Apartments. An Illinois bill will outlaw advertising for firearms that state officials determine produce a public safety threat or appeal to kids in their estimation. Militants or others who, quote, might later use the weapons illegally in an effort to curb mass shootings. Now, gun rights advocates say the bill, which Pritzker says he's going to sign into law, is, quote, an unreasonably vague decree and violates not only the constitutionally protected right to own guns, but also free speech. A 36-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene of a two-vehicle crash near Ashley Drive and Beach Road yesterday. According to Bloomington Police news release, the officers were dispatched around 10:32 a.m. This is an accident that remains under investigation. Want to wake up rich tomorrow? You got to get a ticket. Mega Millions jackpot has grown to $1.55 billion, making it the third largest ever, ahead of tonight's drawing. News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa. I'm Tom Davis.
Here's the Bloomington Normal Forecast on Cities 92.9.
I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby. Showers and thunderstorms likely early. Slight chance of showers midday. Later, mostly cloudy, gusty northwest wind 76. Partly cloudy for tonight as we dry out, low 61.
This portion of the show is a service of the Long Branch Again in Cooksville. It's Taco Tuesday at the Long Branch Again in Cooksville. Stop in and try their tacos and taco salads.
Need more customers? They're right here, listening to this station. Here's John Carmack of John's in Lexington to tell you more.
When Great Plains Media comes up with new commercials for my business, they are always commercials that set me apart from the competition. They're never run-of-the-mill commercials that everyone else plays. They're always innovative and outside the box.
To put a dent in your annual sales goal, give us a call here at Great Plains Media, 888-4496.
Month after month, numerous low-budget memberships are charged to your credit card, and you don't even think about it. At Frequency Martial Arts, our memberships are expensive because we want you to think about that investment every single month to motivate you and remind you why you started. Improve your health, improve your well-being, physically and mentally. Experience everything Frequency Martial Arts has to offer with a free intro class. FrequencyMartialArts.com.
Work with a name you know. When your family or business needs protection, choose the names you know. Pekin and Troxel Insurance. Life can throw you curves. You need a local insurance agent you can count on.
This is Aaron Jones
and Chad Toma with Troxel Insurance, and we've been helping folks in McLean County find affordable insurance solutions for business, home, life, and auto for years.
On the web at TroxelINS.com. Troxel and Pekin Insurance. Two names you can count on.
If we've learned anything from recent news, it's that unexpected things are happening. Your gut tells you there's something very wrong going on, and all the evidence suggests that there is. Government emails are hacked. There's talk of how to fight World War III, and trade of grains and food are being disrupted. Those in charge say everything's fine. Stop noticing. But you know better. It's time to invest in self-reliance and emergency food storage now, more than ever. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, is the place you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunch, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save 25%, plus get free shipping on all their 3-month emergency food kits. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. It's time to prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
Cities 92.9 Sports.
Don't look now, but the White Sox are rolling after looking bad in a bench-clearing brawl in Cleveland Saturday night. And yes, I'm looking at you, Tim Anderson. The Sox have won 3 straight after beating the Yankees at the rate 5-1. Andrew Vaughn was the hero, homering in the second to put the Sox up 2-0 and then making a super play at first in the 6th to preserve that 2-0 lead. Can the Southsiders make it 4 in a row against a team they traditionally have been pretty good against? We'll find out tonight at 7:10. The Pac-12 is pretty much done after failing to land a decent TV rights deal, and the last 4 schools left, Stanford, Washington State, Oregon State, and Cal, may end up in the ACC, as in Atlantic Coast Conference with 4 Pacific Coast schools. Cal and Stanford could be gone later this week for the ACC. I'm Chris Murphy, Cities 92.9 Sports.
Have you ever wanted to see your favorite Cities host live in the studio? Well, now you can. Join Cities 92.9 on YouTube for live streams and exclusive off-air content. Cities 92.9 aims to bring you the best local conservative content that covers the news the lamestream media doesn't want you to hear. Go to cities929.com or YouTube and search for your favorite host, Conservative Cat Peterson, The Aldonzo and Dee Show, Modern Renaissance Man and host of Cancel This, Ty Smith, The David Paul Blumenshine Show, or even my show, Speechless with Kev Ferris. Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington, Normal, and beyond on YouTube.
Mark Levin here, and I'm live on Cities weeknights at 5. You won't want to miss a minute of the show, so download the app and stream Cities all day long. Cities 92.9.
You're upside.
What's new, Cat?
Cat class and I got cat style.
Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. Have you seen the movie Sound of Freedom? Joining me in studio, former congressional candidate, syndicated radio host, U.S. Army captain, and I'm going to butcher this, but is it OIF-1 Vet Airborne? So can you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, OIF is Operation Iraqi Freedom. And yes, I happen to be airborne qualified, which means I just went to airborne school and jumped out of a plane 5 times and I get a little parachute. That's all. But OIF, yes, I always try to delineate, like, the Iraq war was extremely long and people went in different times. I was in the very, very beginning of it, like the time where Saddam Hussein was still in charge of his army kind of thing. So back in 2003, we're talking about a long time ago.
Wow.
But yeah, and I've been out since then, got into radio after, and here I am.
And he's here in studio in person. You guys can see Mike Coolidge here in studio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter,
What
Rumble.
camera looking to?
This one.
There we go.
Mike Coolidge is live in studio, and we're meeting each other for the first time in person.
Even though we've talked numerous times, that was a cool thing. I had regular guests like you for years. Some of my favorite guests I had on for like this one guy 3 years until I met him in person, David Marcus, and then we hung out at CPAC. I'm like, I feel like I know you, because we do. You know, you have a 15-minute conversation with someone every week. That's more than talk to my sister. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And Mike Coolidge and I, we do Patriot Power Plug usually at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, but he drove all the way from Rochelle Illinois, to come here in studio in the 8 o'clock hour, and we've just kind of been walking through what Governor J.B. Pritzker said on CNN. We are going to get to the Sound of Freedom leftist propaganda crap they've got out there, trying to say that the funder or the financer of the film was arrested for kidnapping. So clickbaity, it's ridiculous.
It's so funny. I talked to my niece about this yesterday, who's about your age, and we were just shooting the breeze. She's seen Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Sound of Freedom, and I saw only Sound of Freedom. I didn't see the other two yet. And she said she liked Sound of Freedom most, and she's not super political. She just follows stuff on TikTok and, you know, Snapchat here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting how your generation, not you particularly, but most people in your generation consume news. They don't watch CNN. They don't watch Fox necessarily. They consume it a lot from their phone. She's like, yeah, I heard about the financer of the movie got busted for child kidnapping or something. And I'm like, Sarah Kate, no, that's not what happened. Some idiot leftist wrote a headline. And yeah, you explained it to your listeners last week. No, we're all financiers. If you like helped pay, if you watch the end of that movie where Jim Caviezel asked people to give money to someone else to pay for it, that's a form of the way the movie was funded, which is crowdfunding. 7,000 people. So they cherry picked out one person who has a custody battle with his ex-wife.
And this
It's
is
not a
what
child kidnapping.
drives me nuts about the left because they have the time. And I don't know how they have the patience. Me, I am not that dedicated to sit through an entire roll of credits and go through every single name because they did.
Right.
They sat there
Oh,
in their
yeah.
little leftists lab and they've got their lab coats on. This is how I imagine it happens. They've got their lab coats on and they're like, let's go through this name, this name, this name.
Yeah.
And they go through the list and they found this guy he's not even a part of the custody battle, really. He's the landlord of this woman and he's kind of providing living arrangements for somebody who's in this custody battle with an aunt, this woman, and her going back and forth about who gets custody over the kids. And she took the kids illegally, I'm sure, or allegedly illegally, and kidnapped them and brought them to this landlord's and he might be helping them out. Who knows? He might be aware of the situation and still just provided these living arrangements.
But if you were to consume that headline, you
Mhm.
would think that the financer for the movie, the person who funded the whole thing, is like the child trafficking woman in the beginning or something. Like, like that woman right away who was like finding the kids
Mhm.
to sell to child slavery. Like, oh, that's basically the financer of their movie. What a hypocrite. And it could not be further from the truth.
Yeah, it's these freaks have way too much time on their hands, and they dream about ways to go after this movie. And still, like
Yeah.
this movie has been in theaters for a long time, and it's doing very well. I think it was like
Outstanding.
160 million or something like that the last
And it
time I
only
checked.
it only cost like a couple of million to make. It's not that expensive of a movie. It was filmed in 2018,
Mhm.
and it's just such a great story, and it's bringing people aware of this incredible issue that people, should be talking about and trying to stop from happening. But because it is somewhat associated with right of center politics, that's too much for the left. They have to destroy it. They have to go it. And you brought up the great point. These same journalists, not a peep about any sort of curiosity about who's on the
Jeffrey
Epstein list.
No,
People going,
of
no,
course not.
none whatsoever of that. But this one, they'll comb through 7,000 names on a credit and try to hurt one person's and ruin their life, and then write a headline for it so that people like my niece and millions of others who are reading stuff on
Just read the
Snapchat, oh,
headline.
hypocritical. Well, I guess that whole Sound of Freedom thing is bogus because the financer was kidnapping kids. No, that's not what happened.
No, it's not what happened. I know, and it's so much better than the Barbie film. So unlike you, I did
Did you
go
see
see
it?
Barbie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did, and it was just a disappointment. It was so bad from the beginning. I was just like, oh, gosh, I don't think I'm going to be able to sit through this. I wanted to because I was like, well, I want to see how bad it truly is,
Yeah.
and take leftist Marxism and multiply it by 100. That's how bad this movie was. They opened the movie with I don't know if it was an implied abortion or like implied abortion ideology or what was going on, but they said it was essentially wrong if you were a parent to give your child a baby doll to play with because what you're doing is you're enabling this little girl who's playing with that baby doll with the ideology that being a mother is great and that's all she can ever be. If you give her a
God
baby,
forbid.
yeah, God forbid you give your child a baby doll and she imitates motherhood in some sort of way to try to take care of this baby doll. So the kids are all huddled in like almost like a satanic, if I had to, like cult
Right.
on this mountain around a fire of some kind. And it was bizarre. These little girls took their baby dolls and smashed the heads of the baby dolls on the ground to stick it to the patriarchy for making them play with baby dolls and imitating mother. So it was anti-motherhood from the beginning. This was the opening scene, and then the Barbie comes down from Earth or from the sky and comes to Earth and saves the children, and now they get to play with this feminazi Barbie. So
Wow.
that's the opening scene, and it just gets worse and worse from there. So I did go see Barbie. It
So
sucked.
so the term patriarchy was mentioned more than once.
Oh yeah, like, yeah. If I had a little bottle of vodka or something and I took a shot, I'd be on the floor.
I've heard that. That's like
every
the
single
movie.
time.
It says that it beats you over the head with that. So I've heard.
Yeah, patriarchy. That's patriarchy. That, and it's so bizarre. There's one other thing, and then we've got to take a break. In the movie Ken, the
Ryan Gosling and then some others. Yeah.
yeah, so Ken, he goes to the real world, and the real world, of course, is dominated by men. Okay. And in Barbie land, it's all dominated by females and it's great and it's wonderful. But the real world is terrible because it's dominated by men. So Ken and Barbie, they travel from Barbie land all the way to the real world. And they're in the real world, and Ken tries to go and get a job because he loves the real world and he sees all these men everywhere and they're on construction sites, they're on billboards and things like that. So he tries to go get a job and he's met with the same thing every time. You don't have the credentials. You don't have you haven't gone through this merit-based system in order to get a job. And then Ken says to this corporate CEO, he's like, "But I'm a man. Shouldn't I get this job?" And he goes, "Shh, shh, shh." He goes, "It we do dominate the world, but it's kind of a secret." And I was just like, wait a second. So they literally sit there and they admit that this thing is not real, where men, there's this patriarchy, the system that is just elevating men. They admit that in the film, that you have to go through a merit based system and have some sort of degree or some sort of experience in order to work in these spaces that men work in. But no, 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 no. There's this secret system that you don't know about, and we all know about it, but it's secret. It's just wild to me. I'm like, so that's my take here on Barbie the movie. We do have to take a break, my Coolidge, but we're gonna come back. One thing that I did also want to talk about was this San Francisco woman. She's voting for these policies, and she's big upset. She's melting down over this incident that happened, and it's a tragic incident where she was approached by a man and he says, "Move or I'm going to rape you," and he spits in her face. But this woman voted for these policies, so I feel bad for her, but at the same breath I don't feel that bad because she's the one that's indirectly causing these things to happen in San Francisco. We'll be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz.
Brought to you by
Menards. Save big money at Menards.
Governor Pritzker signed some new laws. Here's a few.
One law requires the state to investigate the electronic theft of SNAP benefits, while another expands access to fentanyl test strips. Representative Rita Mayfield of Waukegan sponsored a bill requiring ambulances to slow down and activate both lights and sirens when proceeding through a red light. She explained to her colleagues earlier this year that it was prompted by the 2022 death of DJ Stallworth, who was hit while he was on a motorcycle.
The ambulance which killed DJ reportedly activated only its lights, neglecting to use its sirens. Without the ability to hear it coming, DJ Stallworth had no chance. By the time he saw the ambulance, it was already too late.
There's also a law requiring Cook County to set up a vehicle theft hotline, as well as one letting someone convicted of a felony serve as an executor of an estate in certain cases. At the state capitol, I'm Kim Howard.
The Mega Millions jackpot has grown to $1.55 billion, makes it the third largest ever, ahead of Tuesday night's drawing. News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa. I'm Tom Davis.
The Bloomington Normal Forecast on Cities 92.9.
I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby. Showers and thunderstorms likely early. Slight chance of showers midday. Later, mostly cloudy, gusty northwest wind 76. Partly cloudy for tonight as we dry out, low 61.
The weather is being brought to you by Bab Service. When your AC isn't keeping you cool, don't get mad. Call Bab Service. They'll cool things down in a hurry. When something in your home doesn't work, call Bab Service.
There's a bar divided in central Illinois.
Hey, this is Ricky at the Long Branch again. Come on down and watch the Chicago Cubs while you enjoy a cold beer and some great food. Pizzas, tacos, fried chicken at the Long Branch again. So come out to Cooksville and try something new as you cheer on the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the Chicago Cubs.
Hey, I'm Pat, and I didn't even get to talk about the rings won by the Saints.
Hey, we don't need to mention them.
The Long Branch again, a bar divided in Cooksville.
Excellent local business. Order 2 new doors, came in the time frame specified, and installed them in about 4 hours. Highly recommended.
I'm Howard with the Door Doctor, and this is one of the many reviews left by satisfied clients within Central Illinois. I encourage you to research the companies that will be working on your home, and you'll understand why more people are choosing the local team at the Door Doctor. See more reviews at thedoordr.com.
Let's open door to you. Call on the Door Doctor.
I know Jim wants a new truck. I also know Jim knows we can't afford to get one this year. So I'm surprising him with an S&S Paint and Body gift certificate. They can take out those nasty dents and dings, give it a sweet new paint job, along with a detailing package, including a hand wash and wax, cleaning the windows inside and out, plus a much needed tire treatment. He's going to be so excited. It's the next best thing to a new truck.
Put a smile on your spouse's face. Take a trip to S&S Paint and Body or visit snspaintbody.com.
The Fox Business Report is from INB's new Lockbox Lite, making it easier for businesses to get their banking done.
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is the Fox Business Report.
UPS reported a mixed quarter and lowered its forecast for the year on weaker demand from e-commerce, which is online orders. It also sees higher costs from its new contract with the Teamsters. Union members are now voting on that deal. Moody's Investors Service may lower the credit ratings on U.S. Bancorp, State Street, and other banks. It's downgrading debt ratings on some small and mid-sized banks. Stellantis shares are down 3% after U.S. safety regulators opened an investigation into possible steering loss in more than 1 million Ram 1500 pickups. Dish Network and satellite communications company EchoStar are planning to merge. A combined company could raise funding for a national 5G wireless network. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Mark Levin here, and you might be on Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. Cities 92.9 has it all. Get breaking news and updates about my show. I'm on at 5 weeknights on Cities 92.9.
Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz, and I'm Kat Peterson. Right over there, Mike Coolidge. He's a PAC spokesman. He ran for Congress. He served this wonderful country of ours. Thank you for your service. And he's a conservative activist, and he's joined me in studio in person today, all the way from Rochelle, Illinois. And I'm just, you're like meeting. It's wild. You get to meet somebody in person that you talk to over the air, right? And it kind of helped. We did the YouTube. We're here in studio today. But it's so fun hearing about your career in national or in syndicated radio, statewide syndicated radio, and hearing you on my show when I used to hear you on Cities 92.9 years ago is wild. So this is really fun.
Yeah. You do a fantastic show, by the way, I have to say. I love your show.
Thank you. I love it. I love the listeners, and I love the content. And I think that this stuff is important, especially this story that I wanted to get your take on. San Francisco. So this woman, she's melting down. I'm going to play this here for us. She went viral on TikTok, and people are like, Kat, why do I care about somebody in San Francisco? Well, she's going through a lot of what people in Chicago and these urban areas in the state of Illinois are going through. And it's going to get much worse because of that SAFE-T Act. So in a couple of months, we're going to have to do a complete overhaul, prosecutors, sheriff's offices, just statewide, on how they do things in the jails and how they do things as far as prosecuting criminals. So it's going to get much worse here in the state of Illinois. It's probably going to be similar to a San Francisco type system.
Oh, yeah.
So let's take a listen to this girl. She went viral explaining what happened to her in a grocery store.
And I live in San Francisco, and I never really feel fully safe. If you live in San Francisco, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I just got groceries. I'm walking out of the store, and this guy is walking past me and says, "Move, you stupid bitch." And he spits in my face, spits all over my face. And then I say, excuse me, did you just spit in my face? And he says, move or I'll rape you. There's also people everywhere and everyone's just walking by because they're like, I can't handle something else in San Francisco. It's always something else. I don't even know why I'm posting this. If you live in San Francisco, do you feel this way all the time? I don't feel safe, ever. I literally never feel safe. It's better when it's daylight. But nighttime, no, not leaving my house.
So a lot of people, she put this out on TikTok, and I kind of looked at her TikTok page, Mike, and it seems like she's legit. She's not like this big time influencer for clicks or anything like that. It just seems like she's a normal gal in San Francisco. And the comments, I mean, you should see some of these comments. It's like, I don't leave my house. I feel like a prisoner in my own home as soon as the sun sets. I mean, this is scary stuff. And here is something that was very disappointing. It was disappointing for me to find out the same girl in this video, who went viral. She has a post from 2020 when she was voting, and she says, "BLM isn't a trend. I hope that all of my white friends and family members remember that when they fill out their ballots this year. Remember all that energy, outrage, and love we brought when the video of George Floyd went viral, or when the Kentucky grand jury indicted only one of the 3 officers involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor." And then she goes, "Vote as if you are the most marginalized, oppressed person, or you know, don't vote for your best interest, vote for their best interest." So she obviously, if I was a betting woman,
She's a true believer.
yeah,
Yeah.
of the Democrat
Yeah.
principles and ideology. So thoughts, Mike Coolidge?
Yes. So these are tied together inherently. The summer of George Floyd 2020 fever we had, this divisive racial animus summer that occurred. You know, we don't need to relitigate, but I think most people now looking back will admit that the sort of things that Black Lives Matter said was happening on a massive scale, the systemic racism where random innocent Black men were just minding their own business, and all of a sudden an unarmed Black men minding their own business and being, targeted by and hunted down by white police officers. That is not true. That is a myth. That there's absolutely zero evidence whatsoever to support that sort of thing. However, because that narrative was pushed so hard and was not pushed back to by a lot of people at the time, because again, it was this fever that happened in our country. Laws like the Safety Act were passed in Illinois. And even then, even in the beginning of January 2021, so less than 6 months removed from that fever summer, there were Democrats in Springfield that said, "Oh, this is pretty extreme what we're talking about. We want to get rid of cash bail. We're going to really make it easy for criminals to commit crimes like they do in California, like they already do in Chicago. When there's no consequence and you have no disincentive to commit crime because you know you're not going to go to jail, you're going to see more crime."
Simple solutions to problems.
And you're going to see stuff like this poor woman who, again, probably has never voted for a Republican in her entire life, is confronted by this guy. And, the lesser crimes like shoplifting you see happen in these cities, both in Illinois and in California and everywhere else that doesn't prosecute criminals. That occurs. But then worse crimes happen. Well, wait, if they're not going to bust me for stealing this TV or this clothes or these $200 sneakers, maybe they're not going to bust me for threatening to rape someone either. Certainly not going to be held on bond for it because there's no cash bail.
Yeah.
And this is a breakdown of society, breakdown of decency. And yeah, it's coming to Illinois in September when the Safety Act is fully in place.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's going to get worse here in the state of Illinois. Police budgets gutted, officers there, and any kind of good officers who were willing to prosecute these crimes and willing to lock criminals up, they're gone.
Yeah.
They headed for the hills. They're like, I'm taking my early retirement.
Who can blame them?
They were thinking about themselves and their families. They were targeted by the Democrat Party. We're going to be back here on the other side. Last segment, be sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Type it in your search bar, Kat Peterson 929, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be back.
News is being brought to you by the Deep End Tap and Eastland Suites. Unwind tonight with drink specials and some local brews at the Deep End Tap.
If you're heading to the Illinois State Fair, you can expect to see several renovated areas. Kim Howard has more.
After years of deferring projects, nearly $65 million has been pumped into renovations over the last 5 years. That includes the multi-purpose arena, which was under construction in 2022, says State Department of Agriculture Director Jerry Costello.
This year, the multi-purpose arena will be open. It's an $8.6 million renovation. I can tell you, any fairgoers moving around the fairgrounds, it's hard to miss the tents of the multi-purpose arena. It's something that I'm sure everyone will notice as new.
Phase 2 of the work on the historic Coliseum is underway, with most of the new seats in, says Costello. An HVAC system is being installed to enable the Coliseum to be used year-round, and 2 elevators will make the facility more accessible. Other improvements include repaved roads near the cattle and swine barns and new roofs at the Emerson and Expo buildings. The Illinois State Fair opens Thursday.
And the Mega Millions jackpot is going to $1.55 billion, making it the third largest ever ahead of tonight's drawing. News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa. I'm Tom Davis.
Cities 92.9.
I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby. Showers and thunderstorms likely early. Slight chance of showers midday. Later, mostly cloudy, gusty northwest wind 76. Partly cloudy for tonight as we dry out, low 61.
The weather's being brought to you by Wireless DataNet. Stop putting up with crappy internet. Switch to Wireless DataNet with no contracts. Try them risk-free for 30 days with their money-back guarantee.
Fox News commentary.
An 87-year-old woman fights off an intruder and then feeds him snacks? Wait, what? I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
This might be one of the most bizarre stories I've heard in a while. 87-year-old Marjorie Perkins of Maine woke up at 2 a.m. to find a teenage intruder standing over her bed, threatening to cut her. Marjorie wasn't going to go down without a fight. In the scuffle, she was hit on the cheek and the forehead, but this is where the story gets weird. After hitting Marjorie, the intruder had a change of plans and instead made his way towards her kitchen. He told her he was awfully hungry, and what did she do? She gave him a box of peanut butter and honey crackers, 2 protein drinks, and 2 tangerines, all before calling 911. The teen then picked up his clothes and left, just like that. The police were able to track him down and charge him with burglary, criminal threatening, assault, and consuming liquor as a minor. But enough about him. 87-year-old Marjorie Perkins is not only a badass woman, but a national treasure. Someone give this woman a badge of honor. She deserves it. I'm Tommy Lahren.
This portion of the Morning Buzz is service of the Door Doctor. Lower your utility bill with a properly insulated garage door, professionally installed by the Door Doctor.
McLean County Asphalt and Materials has been helping businesses and homeowners improve their curb appeal since 1964. Whether you're in need of mulch, decorative stone, unilock pavers, or granite boulders, the team at McLean County Asphalt and Materials is here to help you. You don't need to have a big truck or know someone who does, because McLean County Asphalt and Materials will deliver the material right to your job site. Get started now with their materials calculator at McLeanCountyAsphalt.com.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want to plan you're happy with. You can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE.
Woo! Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. And we were talking a little bit about the crime, the rampant crime, Mike Coolidge and myself in San Francisco. And we've got a caller on the line, Rocky. Thanks so much for tuning in. And did you live in San Francisco for a time?
I did indeed. Yes. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it. I'm fired up. I think like so many Americans are with the state of things. And Mike, is that Mike Coolidge that you're with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know you, but it's just I know names like that. And I feel like a lot of things are getting out of hand in regards to what we can even do with, dealing with anything. And it's like you got people in one end that are basically seeing things go left and right and this way and that. And I'm over here thinking to myself, well, what the heck am I supposed to do about it? But I'm fired up. And I know I'm angry. And when you got people in charge who don't even know what between this and that goes which way or what way, what are we supposed to be doing as far as coming together in any way whatsoever? If we're going to be going in this way and we're going to be coming together, I mean, I can't stand what's happening down below and up above. I can't stand what's happening in regards to anything to do with what is happening in regards to the city and the country and everything that is doing in regards to everything for us as far as voting Americans. And it's got me fired up as far as I'm concerned. I can't even consider anything to do with what anything means to do with all of it if I don't consider the whole totality of all of the situation. Do you agree, Mr. Coolidge?
Yeah. And my advice to you, Rocky, is stay engaged.
You would be that the big issue here is we need to be looking inwardly, but how do you look inwardly when this and that is going which way and what way, and we don't even know how to clean anything up when it's dirty from the inside and the outside?
Yes.
And
here's the answer, Rocky. Rocky, check it out. Listen and stay engaged and pay attention to the politicians that represent you, that come on shows like The Morning Buzz with Kat Peterson, and express your viewpoint to them, and not just your state reps and your state senators, but your city councilmen and your school board members and your library board members and all that. They work for you. Pay attention to what they're doing and speak your mind to them when they are doing stupid things and passing stupid laws that put you and your family in danger. Thanks so much for calling in, Rocky.
And here's another thing too, and we're getting close to the end of the show here, Rocky. Thanks so much for your call. I appreciate it. 309-451-9299. We're getting close to the end of the show. One thing that I do want to say is that El Salvador has figured it out. Their leadership has figured it out. You lock up criminals. These problems are not as big as we think. There is a simple solution, and it is locking up criminals, being tough on crime. And if you just keep that philosophy, lock up criminals, be tough on crime, and you take those two solutions to your leaders, to your elected officials, then you're going to be just fine. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Big thank you to Mike Coolidge, who joined me in studio. Mike, thanks so much for coming in studio.
Loved it, Kat.
Find him on Twitter. It's at Coolidge, Koolidge. You can find him on Twitter. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. I love you. Tune in tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. This has been The Morning Buzz.